What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Limited Resources. This episode number 807. I'm one of your Limited Resources. My name is Marshall. Joining me on the line all the way from Denver, Colorado, it's Luis Scott-Vargas. Luis, you ready to jump into some rares, mythic rares, and a very large bonus sheet for Final Fantasy?
Sure am. We pushed the review by a day or two just because we both had things that it didn't quite work. Me, it was that I was on no sleep all weekend because the kids were sick, and then you were busy yesterday. So it does afford us a bit of a chance to play with the cards. So we're going to have a little bit of experience under our belts. And the set's been fun so far.
Yeah, I've played a bunch of drafts yesterday, so I did get to draft a few rares, which we'll bump into today because we're going to go over every single one of them, all the rares, mythic rares, and the bonus sheet here for Final Fantasy. Before we do, I want to say thank you to everybody who supports us on our Patreon. It's a great way to support the creators that you love, that brighten your day, that make the stuff that you consume. If we happen to be one of those, we love it if you'd support us. It's patreon.com/limited resources. We also are supported by Ultimate Guard. They make the best stuff in the business when it comes to protecting your cards, your decks, and even your entire collection. High quality materials, really well thought out designs, and really cool colors and designs from the visual perspective as well. All at Ultimate Guard. You can check them out at ultimateguard.com for their full product line. That covers, sleeves, deck boxes, long boxes, backpacks, binders, all that kind of stuff. And if you want to pick something up, you can go to your favorite online retailer or your favorite local game store. Thank you, Ultimate Guard. We really appreciate you supporting us. Luis, before we dive into the cards, we will be using our grading scale for this. A little bit different than last week since we're in the rares, though.
Yeah, so we use an A through F grading scale with A's being bombs, game winners, the cards that are good in many situations, even when behind, and the best cards in the set. Unsurprisingly, you see a lot of A's in the rare and mythic review. Cards like Jeskai, Revelation, or Ugin, just really the best of the best. B's are cards that actively pull you towards their color. In this particular case, it's mostly a two-color set with the town exception, but a B will pull you into whatever that color pair is or that theme is. And so we're talking about solid cards like the best commons or good uncommons, cards like Karakit Guardian or Disruptive Stormbrood. C's are playable. These are the pawns of limited. They're pretty interchangeable. You end up with a bunch of them in your deck. And you don't typically see a ton of C's in the rare and mythic review. I mean, rares tend to cluster on the two poles, A's and F's. But we're talking cards like Inoc Wayfarer, Riverwalk Technique. Cards you're just perfectly happy to play, but you're not thrilled about. D's are cards you would be happy not to play. Cards that if you do play them, you're a little bit, disgruntled by the fact that you have to get some of these into your deck. We're talking cards that are a little too expensive, a little too narrow, a little bit mediocre. And even though modern limited sets, the D's are not that much worse than the C's, they are worse. They are a little bit below the bar. And we're talking cards like Jeskai Devotee or Aegis Sculptor. F's are cards that are unplayable in all scenarios. Maybe 1% of the time there's a reason to maybe get one of these cards in there. We're talking cards that cost 12 mana or refer to planeswalkers. You see a bunch of them in the rare review, cards that just don't really have much to do with limited. So we're talking cards like United Battlefront or Sig Ceremony that will actively hurt your win rate dramatically if you put them in your deck. We have two subgrades. We have sideboard cards that you wouldn't typically main deck but can be good out of the sideboard. The rare review usually has 0 to 1 of these, or maybe 2. It's just not how rares tend to be. And then build around. You see a lot of these, though. These are cards that on their own don't do anything or don't do much, but if you properly build around them, they can be among the best cards in your deck. Cards like Glacierwood Siege or Dragon Storms that you do a little work, they really reward you. So that's the grading scale we'll be using, and let's get to some cards, huh?
All right, we're going to start with blue, just as we did for the commons and uncommons. Our first card, and let's just jump into the pronunciation Olympics straight away. It's Louis Sua's Sacrifice. This is blue for an instant at rare. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a legendary creature, of which there actually are a ton, but more commonly you would pay 2. That's the other option. And it says counter target activated ability, triggered ability, or non-creature spell.
So for a blue and 2, you get a negate plus a stifle, right? Yep. Setting aside the sack and the legendary part. That is okay. And I would say most of the time you include this in your deck, you'll find a time to use it. It's not amazing though. And certainly I don't expect to be sacking legendary creatures to make this cheaper. That's more of a constructed thing where you have like 1 mana legends or weird stuff like that. So
Yeah.
this looks playable, but not exciting. This looks almost like a textbook definition of a C where you play a blue-black control deck. Maybe you have one of these to cover your bases, but you're not really that interested in picking it early.
Yeah, the one upside to it in the format is that there are numerous cards that act as creatures that you can hit with the third ability there, that will allow you a little bit of collateral damage on some things that are like creatures, like all the equipment and stuff.
Yeah, it counters the job select equipment or spells that put a creature into play very nicely.
So next is Astrologian's Planisphere or Planisphere. It's 1 and a blue for an artifact equipment at rare. It has job select, and it says equipped creature is a wizard in addition to its other types, and has, whenever you cast a non-creature spell and whenever you draw your third card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Equip cost 2, but it doesn't do anything else, right?
Well, I mean, it doesn't do anything else,
1/1.
But yeah, but it has super prowess. Like it's prowess, except it gets counters instead of temporary. So that, I mean, this card's awesome. I had this card already in a blue-black deck, and it was maybe the best card in my deck. Like I think. Oh
wow!
It's also only equipped 2. So like you play this, and then you play a non-creature spell. You want to know a really good one? You put a combat tutorial on turn 3. It's getting 2 counters off that because it also draws you your third card, and then combat tutorial gives you a third. You just have a 4/4 on turn 3.
That's crazy.
It's not that hard to do that, and even setting aside the draw part, which comes up more often than you might think, it's just, again, super prowess on a 1/1 is really good. Like if this was blue 1 for a 1/1 with this ability, I would still say it was a good card. And this leaves behind an equipment that's only equipped 2. I think the Planisphere is like A-.
Okay.
I think it is a very strong card.
Yeah, you've convinced me. I have not played with or against yet, but that seems amazing. And you can really tell that they pushed it because of the rarity with that equip 2. If this was an uncommon, it would have been equip 4 or something like that. So nice. A- for Astrologian's Planisphere. Next is Go-Go, Master of Mimicry. This is 2 and a blue for a 2/4 legendary wizard at Mythic rare. So 3 mana 2/4 to start's actually decent. And then it has a really cool activated ability. You can play XX and tap it to copy target activated or triggered ability you control X times, and you can choose new targets for the copy. And that ability that you're using here can't be copied and can't be 0. X can't be 0. But so that covers some shenanigans or whatever, but at its base level, like this just works. I've had this card, and yes, this is a place you can put mana late to copy things like job select. Like you can just get a 1/1 per any type of triggered or activated ability. I mean, that's like a lot of stuff, right? Like many things do that. It is, of course, mana intensive, but you can pay 2 mana, tap this to copy it just once, and that already is pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, if you play one of the Saga creatures with this and play on the next turn, you're going to untap, have all your mana up, and then be able to copy the Saga trigger multiple times.
Yes.
And that is just really, really strong.
It is, so, yeah. And I also like a 3 mana 2/4 in blue because it's a good defensive creature.
Mm-hmm. Like 3 mana 2/4 in blue is already playable. Not amazing, but 3 mana 2/4 with a great ability. We are talking build around here. Like, I don't think you would put this card in your deck if you had nothing. But the average deck, if you just added this card, you'd probably find like 4 or 5 things that are pretty decent to do with it. So it's build around in the sense that you do want to kind of support it, but it's also not a build around in the sense that like it will naturally work a lot. So I like B for Go-Go. I don't know if you wanted to go higher.
I want to go B. I want to go B for Go-Go. I think the average deck will have enough stuff that it just works. And then, as you're saying, if you support it additionally, it gets even better from there. And the floor is high enough on it too. So B for Go-Go, Master of Mimicry. Next is Jill, Shiva's Dominant. So the names are like on the far ends of the spectrum. We have Louis Sois and we have Jill. So you figure that out.
Yeah, it's really funny.
It's 2 and a blue for a 2/2 legendary human noble warrior at rare. And it says, when Jill enters, return up to 1 other target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Oh, hi, Jill. I didn't know Jill was a man of war. And then you can pay 3 blue and tap it to exile Jill, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control at sorcery speed. And if you do that, it becomes Shiva, Warden of Ice, which is actually a legendary enchantment creature, Saga Elemental. That's a type line for you. So this is a 4/5 Saga creature with 3 chapters. The first 2 are the same, and they are target creature can't be blocked this turn. And then you get that again. And then on chapter 3, tap all lands your opponents control and exile Shiva, then return it to the battlefield, and it reminds you that it would come in front face up. So then you get when Jill enters, return up to one other target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and you're back in business again. Okay, I have not played with her against yet, but I think I'm in love with this card. Like, this looks amazing.
Well, I have, but I didn't need to. It's just an A. Like,
just a straight up.
It's a 3-mana. It's a 3-mana 2/2 mana war. A mana war. That's already just a B. Like that is a good card. They don't make them at that rate generally. And then all of a sudden you add the fact that it's also just a must-kill threat because you flip it and they're just going to die to it very easily. And then if they don't, it just somehow does it again.
That's crazy. Yeah. And this is a super
there's no way to lose out with this card.
No.
Because you cast it, you bounce something, you've already gotten more than your money's worth, and then they kill it. Maybe that's like a 1-for-1, but they're certainly behind on tempo. And if they don't kill it, you win the game. So pretty hard for that recipe to go wrong. So that's A great. For Jill.
A for Jill. And of note, it is one other target non-land permanent, and it can be theirs, yours, and not just creatures. So that's a very flexible mana war too. Next is Matoya, Archon Elder. This is 2 and a blue for a 1/4 legendary human warlock at rare. And it says, whenever you scry or surveil, draw a card. I'll tell you, this thing is scary. My opponent played this against me, and I had the ability to kill it, but it would cost me 2 cards to do so. And I really had to think about whether I wanted to do that because, it doesn't feel good if you let your opponent untap and then they start, casting stuff that does this and just get the card draw engine rolling.
Yeah, I actually have drafted this card somehow twice, once on the release day and once after, and I'm pretty unimpressed. There aren't very many instances of this is the problem.
Okay.
Like you're not gonna end up getting to use this, and I think that it's kind of like it's a little bit of a trap. Like it promises a build around and doesn't really deliver. There's first of all, there's no scrying in the set.
There's no scrying,
and then there's 12 cards with surveil. This being one of them because it says surveil.
So 11 others.
We're talking pretty thin. And at common, we have Dreams of Laguna, and then the 1-mana artifact, which is terrible. The 4-mana 3/4, and that's it.
Okay,
and then at uncommon, there's some. What's that?
That's not great then. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it just doesn't actually do the thing. Like there are some sets where this would be an A. I think it's like a D or an F, really. It's not an F. If you ended up with 2 Dreams of Laguna and a Pixie in my deck, I would just play the card Assault by Leviathan. You could get to like 3, sometimes maybe 4.
Okay.
You're not getting to 5 or 6. So.
Okay. Yeah, I decided not to kill it, and my opponent did untap and play the stupid card draw spell that surveils one, and I'm like, okay, sure. But then I killed it, and it was fine. So it probably plays more into your point there. So we'll say D+ for Matoya Archon Elder. It is a 1/4. It's a decent little blocker, but you do need to support it. Maybe give it a build around B or something, because if you do have 5 or 6 ways to do it, then you're off to the races. Next up is Memories Returning, which is 2 blue for a sorcery at rare. It says, reveal the top 5 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, then choose an opponent. So to your opponent, they put one on the bottom of your library. Then you put one in your hand. Then they put one on the bottom of your library and you put the other one in your hand. And then this also has flashback. Now the flashback cost is significant. It's 9 mana. It's 7 blue. So you get 3 cards out of this,
really
right?
Flashing this back. Oh yeah, you get 1, 3, and 5, and then you do get to flash it back at some point. And I think this card's pretty good. I did play it in the blue-black deck, and you just cast it, and it's comparable to a draw. Like it is a draw 3 where you get the best of the top 5.
Yeah, that's quite good.
That is not bad. So I think that Memories Returning is a B, and the flashback is not, it's not nothing. It's not going to happen like all the time, obviously, but it's definitely not nothing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think the only caveat with cards like this early in the format is that sometimes there's enough good card draw at common and uncommon that these kind of get drowned out a little bit. Like, even though this is an excellent card draw spell, you know, they can kind of get drowned out. But I'm with you. I would give B to Memories Returning kind of until proven otherwise, just because that is an amazing card draw spell. Next is a vehicle called the Lunar Whale. This is 3 and a blue for a 3/5 flying legendary artifact vehicle at rare. The crew cost, it's 1. That's what we want to see. It says you may look at the top card of your library anytime, and as long as the Lunar Whale attacked this turn, you may play the top card of your library. Does that persist too? Does that just that's like, that's not limited to just the top card of your library at that time, right? Like, it has the, what's the card I'm thinking of?
Attack with this, play a land, play a spell, you know, maybe play another spell.
What's the card I'm thinking of? The blue 2?
Future Sight.
Future Sight, thank you. So it does just Future
classic.
Sight if you can attack with it.
Yeah. And
what about vehicle-wise?
That's very good.
Is this good enough vehicle-wise? 4 mana, 3/5 flying crew 1, that's there, right?
Yeah, you would just play that. Like, it's got pretty good stats, and then it basically draws a card or two when it attacks most of the time. Also, you know whether it's going to work before deciding whether to use it.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Because you can see the top card. So, like, you get to decide, okay, I want to sequence my play this way.
Yeah.
And I think you add all that together, Lunar Whale looks like an A- to me.
It does to me, too.
A lot of board presence. Also, the fact that it's a vehicle might actually make this card better.
Yeah.
You play this card in past. A lot of decks might not be able to kill it because it's immune to sorcery speed removal. It doesn't hit artifacts.
Right.
So
yeah, I like that.
So some amount of the time they can't use, you know, one of the cards they would otherwise use to be able to kill it.
Yeah, I mean, I've whined about vehicles as a design type, but if you're going to push it this far, like, okay, I'm playing it. All right, A- for Lunar Whale. Next is, this is one, I've gotten this one a bunch of times somehow already. It's called the Water Crystal. It's 2 blue for a legendary artifact. This is part of a cycle, right? There's a crystal for each color.
There's crystal for each color. They all reduce the cost by 1 and then have a different ability, a static, and then a triggered.
Right. So they're all rare. This one, so it reduces the blue spells that you cast by 1, which is kind of cool. And then it says, this one's interesting. It says, if an opponent would mill 1 or more cards, they mill that many cards plus 4 instead. So it kind of turbos any type of milling that you have, and it does mill itself. So it says it has the activated ability 4 blue tap. Each opponent mills cards equal to the number of cards in your hand. So you need to have 1 card, or actually, do you even need to? Yes, you do need to have 1 card to get the thing rolling, but that will get you 5 cards milled from your opponent. And if your hand's bigger, you know, if you have 4 cards in your hand, you're milling them for 8. I have played this a bunch of times already, Luis, because I love cards like this that sort of transform the game into this is the only thing that matters kind of vibe. And I found it to be kind of what you would expect. In matchups or board states where it's slow or you've been able to really stabilize, it is a reliable finisher that basically just turns mana into the game's over, which is kind of what you're looking for at that stage of the game. But in matchups where people are applying pressure to you, it feels very, very slow. You play this thing for 4 mana, nothing happens. You technically get the blue spell thing, but it's usually hard to cast something after that. And then, yes, you may be able to get a little bit ahead from that, but it doesn't feel like it makes up for it. And it kind of just sits there until you fully stabilized, and then you start activating it. So what I was doing is just keeping it in my hand for the most part, like unless I had nothing else to do. It checks the box. If this format is one that either an archetype or the format in general supports things like the game's going long, you having a bunch of mana and just needing inevitability or a difficult to interact with win con, the Water Crystal is going to be very strong. Think last set with the Siege, you know, where it kind of filled in this niche. If the format is assertive, people are doing things, if it has a good aggressive deck, if it's just a more on-board format, the Water Crystal is going to be really bad. Like, it's way too slow for that.
I'm leaning more towards the latter because it has to be really slow for 4 mana, do nothing, then pay 6 to mill them. Like, compare that to the Monument last set that cost 2 and 1 to mill them. Like
the monument, sure. Yeah, I was in Wildwood Siege too. These narrow, don't do anything else kind of things.
But the Glacier Siege also costs 3 mana and 0 to use it. You just have to play spells, which usually would keep you alive. So
yes.
Honestly, we said there was going to be no sideboard cards. This actually looks like a sideboard card to me. I think I would not main deck it, and maybe you had good experiences with it, but
no, I had medium experiences. Yeah, I had a blue-black deck that it fit in, but I also had another deck that it kind of didn't, and it wasn't very good.
So I think that I would typically not play the Water Crystal. I would give it like a sideboard C, where against a slow deck, sure, bring it in. You play against a blue-black deck or a 5-color deck like a town deck that has a lot of removal, and this can kind of go around that, and sometimes that can be a really effective way to win a matchup. But this card is basically a straight-up blank against red-white, against blue-red, even against like maybe some of the controlling blue-reds, but blue-red has been fairly assertive in my experience against almost every like red-green. Like this card is not gonna do anything for you. So I would start by not main decking Water Crystal.
Yeah, I think I would give it the same grade as you did, but with the addition of a build around like C plus B minus level card, like it's an okay finisher. If you're able to produce the board states, if you have a sweeper, a bunch of removal, good counters, card draw, like I played it in blue black, and that's where it was best, for example. But it still wasn't amazing. Help. Yeah, so I'm a little down on it too, even though I do like that type of card. Next is Edgar, King of Figaro. This is 4 blue for a 4/5 legendary human artificer noble at rare. When Edgar enters, draw a card for each artifact you control, and it has 2-headed coin. The first time you flip one or more coins each turn, those coins come up heads, and you win those flips. So we don't care about that. 6 mana, 4/5, not very good. So, and it doesn't have like affinity or anything. So this just is really for the blue-white deck only, and
pretty much
probably pretty good there. Draw 3 or 4.
If you're drawing like 3 cards, the card's great. If you're drawing 2 cards, the card's okay.
Yeah, still probably worth it. 1, not enough. 0, unplayable. Anything above 3, great.
Yeah, so I think that I would give Edgar a build around B. Like
I would too.
You put this in a blue-white deck, it can be quite good. You do otherwise, it's just not it's not really going to work for you.
Next is Summon Leviathan. This is a same cost, 4 blue for a 6/6 enchantment creature, Saga Leviathan. This is a rare, and this thing actually has Ward 2, and it has 3 chapters. The first chapter is return each creature that isn't a Kraken, Leviathan, Merfolk, Octopus, or Serpent to its owner's hand. So sea creatures get to stay, everything else gets bounced. The second and third chapters are the same, and they are until end of turn. Whenever a Kraken, Leviathan, Merfolk, Octopus, or Serpent attacks, draw a card.
So
do I have to put in a search for these things, or?
No. I mean, there are some, but they don't really impact when you draft or play the card, because the card is just great. 6 mana, 6/6, bounce basically everything. Next turn, attack for 6 and draw a card. And then next turn it dies, and you probably don't get a third card out of it because you're very unlikely, unless you have like Ultros or something, to have another attacker. But I think that overall the card is just quite good. I mean,
just good on its own.
It's just a good card. Like it gives you a card back, it gives you some damage, and it bounces the whole board. They're not going to be able to attack you back on the next turn. So I would give probably an A- to Summon Leviathan. It just does a lot, even though you're not really getting like full use of the card. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I was going to give it a B+, but my guess is you're actually right. I mean, that's a very good way to stabilize. Also, just killing tokens is nice.
Yeah.
Next one is
Y'shtola Rule.
Y'shtola Rule. Again, 4 blue. This one's a mythic rare. It's a 3/5 legendary cat druid. And it says, at the beginning of your end step, exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Then, if it's the first end step of the turn, there is an additional end step after this step. I
believe it's actually a cat boy, even though it looks like a cat druid. I believe you would use that as the technical term.
Okay. No idea. What does this do?
It's awesome. It's a build around, but it's incredible. Imagine if you had this with any ETB creature, including the sagas. You go to your end of turn, you blink it, then you blink it again. Like, how strong is that? It's extremely good.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, so I would give Y'shtola Rule Builder on A. And it's really not going to be that hard to find a couple things. You probably just need like 3 ETB creatures, counting the Saga as one of those, but you're at its best with like more than that, 5 or 6. And if you just land this +1 for 1 turn, that's probably enough to just get you in a really commanding position.
For sure. Yeah, I like Builder on A for Y'shtola Rule.
Yeah, I agree.
Black is our first card is called Cecil Dark Knight. This is black for a 2/3 legendary human knight at rare. It's got Death Touch, and it has whenever Cecil deals damage, you lose that much life. Then if your life total is less than or equal to half of your starting life total, so 10 in our case, untap it and transform it. And it becomes Cecil Redeemed Paladin, which is a 4/4 life-linking legendary human knight that has, whenever it attacks, other attacking creatures gain indestructible until end of turn.
I mean, that's 1 mana, 2/3 Death Touch is obviously quite good. The fact that you lose life, like if you didn't have the flip ability and you lost life whenever it dealt damage, it'd make it quite bad. But it flips into a 4/4 lifelinker that kind of makes up for all that and is obviously just like pretty big on the board for 1 mana. I faced Cecil. I've never played with it, but I faced it a number of times, and I think it is quite good. I would give Cecil, probably give Cecil an A-.
Really? Yeah, maybe so. I mean, your floor of just this 2/3 that, yes, it does hurt you a bit, but it comes down so early, your life total's high. And even if you just trade it off, right? It's just, you paid 1 mana for a 2/3 Death Touch and you block something, you take 2 damage, but they lose their creature. That's pretty good already.
It's also hard to trade off at a 1-for-1 basis. It's a 2/3 Death Touch. Like often they're going to either have to double block or block with at least a 3/3.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying you can even block with Cecil, like just
Oh yeah. You can just
if
block
that's
their
your
thing.
floor, I guess. I would go B+ for Cecil Dark Knight.
Yeah, B+ seems fine. It's a strong card, and it does threaten to flip. It's actually really annoying. Like when they have a really Cecil out, you might not want to attack them. You're like, I could attack you in the air with my flyer. I put you from 14 to 12, then you attack and flip this. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. So,
that's a problem.
Yeah, I like B+ for Cecil. It's a good card. When they play it on turn 1, you're going to feel really bad about it.
Next is Bob, Dark Confidant. 1 and a black for 1 and a black for a 2/1 human wizard at Mythic Rare. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library and put that card in your hand. You lose life equal to its mana value. How does a card like Bob play in a current era limited set? Traditionally, it's actually been not great, right? If you start hitting 4s and 5s, you die.
In Ravnica, and then it was when I played with it. It was also in one of the master sets, but I didn't play with it then because it was I think by that point a Mythic, and I drafted that set less. But I played with this in Ravnica, and it wasn't great because the liability of like losing a couple life per turn is pretty big. So a way to kind of estimate how much damage it'll do is you add up the total mana cost of every card in your deck except Bob, and then divide it by the total that number of cards, and it gives you like your average mana cost. That's a good approximation. It's usually going to be between 1 and 2 for most decks. But I mean, how good would this be if it was 2 mana 2/1 at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card and lose 2 life? You wouldn't always be able to play that. There would be some decks where it's good, and that's the key. The more aggressive you are, the better Bob gets. If you have reason to believe that your life total is not going to be in question, and you can just play this card and draw 2 or 3 cards off it, plus if you're aggressive, they also have to block it at some point.
Yes.
Because they can't just keep taking hits. The problem is you put Bob in a slow deck or a mid-range deck, or you're on the defensive, they just won't block it if you attack, and if you just sit there, you might just die, especially if they have like a flyer or something. So I would look at Bob and I would give it like a B in an aggro deck and a D in a non-aggro deck.
I agree. Things you can consider: trying to keep your average mana cost lower than you might normally would. Also, ways to sacrifice your own creatures can come in handy. You can kind of get off the Bob train if you need to. You can use your own removal to kill it in a pinch. It only has 1 toughness. So those are all other little considerations. But I agree with your assessment on Bob overall. Next is Kane, Traitorous Dragoon. This is 2 and a black for a 2/4 legendary human knight with during your turn, Kane has flying. And whenever Kane deals combat damage to a player, that player gains control of Kane. If they do, you draw that many cards, create that many tapped treasure tokens, and lose that much life. Is that many referring to the amount of damage?
Mm-hmm. So if you pump this, it'll do more on that front.
But it's 2 as a baseline.
Yeah, this card's interesting. I've had the opportunity to take it numerous times, and I never have selected it.
Oh, this is honestly a prove it card for me. No way I'm going to be the first one to try this thing out.
Honestly, this card, I could believe this card could be like a B, but I could also believe it's like an F. Yeah. It's actually really hard to evaluate because I think that the way to make this card good, my instinct is the lower curve and the more aggressive you are, the better, because this card is comparable. Do you remember this card? You probably don't. Sizan, Perverter of Truth. It was from Champions block. Mm-mm. It was 3 black for a 6/5. And at the beginning of each player's upkeep, or maybe it was just your upkeep, I don't remember it, but each player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life per turn. Mm-hmm. And that card made the games crazy because everyone just had tons of cards in hand and was losing life. And the way to break that symmetry is to play lots of cheap cards and bounce spells and be aggressive, where you're punishing both on the life axis and the like cards in hand axis. So I think Kane would be similar, because imagine if this thing's going. You play this, hit them, you draw 2, lose 2, you get 2 treasures, you have more mana. Then on their turn, what are they going to do? Not hit you back? They're going to do it. All of a sudden, both of you have 7 or 8 cards in hand and a lot of mana. How do you win in that situation? I think it's just play more cards than them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my instinct. At least.
Is the sequence that you play this, hit them, get your 2 cards and your treasure, and then you lose a little bit of life, and then you just kill Kane?
So if you do that, you spent 3 mana plus a kill spell for both players to lose 2 life, you to draw 2 cards, and you to make 2 treasures. It's like you're up 2 treasures and even on cards, and down a lot on mana. That doesn't sound good. No, and you can't pair this with a sacrifice.
It's already gone.
Well, it says if you do. So if you trigger it, then sack it in response. It's not going to work well.
You don't get any of those treasures. Okay. Yeah. So this is a classic prove it for me. I am not going to be the first one to bash my head through the wall. I'm going to wait till somebody shows me this is how you Kane Traitorous Dragoon people, and then I'll jump on. But up until then, I would give Kane a D, maybe an F. I mean, it's still a 3 mana 2/4 that you can block with, I guess. I just not really excited by any of that.
Doesn't have flying on their turn either.
Right. Right. So yeah. I'm starting off low on Kane. You the same, or?
Kane is basically like a big question mark for us. Like, it's just really hard to evaluate this. My guess is it's not that good, but I guess, a deck that could play Dark Conflict could probably play this. So try to build a really aggressive black-red deck. It is really good with like the Black Wizard stuff.
Would you say you're not able to give it a grade?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. Next is Ninja's Blades. This is 2 and a black for an artifact equipment at rare. It's got job select and equip 2. It says equip creature gets +1/+1, is a ninja in addition to its other types, and has whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. That player loses life equal to the discarded card's mana value. That's kind of mean.
Basically just Thief's Knife, because it's a 3 mana 2/2 that has to hit them to draw a card. And in this case, it's a little worse than draw a card because you discard, but then it makes up for it by you nug them for like some damage.
Yeah, so, it does present you with an interesting scenario because you're not ahead on cards. Do you really want to discard your expensive and therefore good spells to it to do a bunch of damage? If you kill them, sure, but if not, it may be a tougher decision than that. Normally you're incentivized to do the opposite of that.
Yeah, my guess is that is just completely contextual. Like you're probably going to want to discard a spell some amount of the time and discard a land some amount of the time.
And you end up with a 3 mana 2/2, but with no other way to get itself through. Is that right?
Yeah. One thing that's better about this than the Thief's Knife is that it is equipped 2. So re-equipping on this is at least fairly cheap.
And +1/+1 does matter for your other creatures too. Yeah, I could see this being annoying. I would go C+ for Ninja's Blades. I'm not 100% convinced this is like a bomb, but this does look like it would be the kind of thing you're like, I don't really want to deal with this because of equip 2.
Yeah, I like C plus for Ninja's Blades, which brings us to Sephiroth, Fabled Soldier. It's
Soldier, all caps for some reason.
It's 2 and a black for legendary creature human avatar. It's a 3/3. Oh, it's also Soldier, of course. Whenever Sephiroth enters or attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw a card. Whenever another creature dies, target opponent loses a life and you gain a life. And note that's both sides. It looks at every creature. If this is the 4th time this ability has resolved this turn, transform Sephiroth into Sephiroth One-Winged Angel, which is a 5/5 Angel Nightmare avatar with flying. It has Supernova. As this creature transforms into Sephiroth, you get an emblem with that ping ability. So for the entire rest of the game, if any creature dies, your opponent loses a life and you gain a life. And then whenever this attacks, you can sack any number of creatures to draw that many cards, but that's not going to be necessary. I think this card basically just wins the game if you flip it. It's pretty hard to imagine that not being the case.
Yeah, for sure. And before that, I mean, that's so much text. So you're getting a 3-mana 3/3 that allows you to sacrifice stuff.
Lets you whenever on ETB or attack, so like Primeval Titan, just all the time, sack a creature to draw a card, and it's a Blood Artist in play. Like it looks at both sides. Anytime a creature dies, doesn't matter if it's a token, whatever.
Wow.
So I think that you get a lot here. This card is extremely dangerous in play because if 4 creatures ever die in the same turn, you basically win the game. Like it's really hard to imagine that not being the case.
Yeah.
And you already got enough out of like one way to look at these cards is if you took away a bunch of the abilities, how good would they be? If this was a 3/3 with just the static ping ability on it, we'd be talking B plus. Like that's just a good card. And adding the fact that you could sack things to draw cards and it flips into this unbeatable thing, I think it just gives Sephiroth an A. Like you're just not going to pass this card often when you open it.
Why is Soldier all caps?
I don't know.
Is Yekt or Jekt, Reluctant Guardian. It's 3 and a black for a 4/3 legendary human warrior at rare. It has menace, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may exile it, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control, where it becomes Braska's Final Aeon, which is a legendary enchantment creature saga nightmare. It's a 7/7 with menace. 3 chapters, first 2 are the same. Each opponent discards a card and you draw a card. Wow, that's sweet. And then the 3rd chapter is each opponent sacrifices 2 creatures of their choice. Wow. That gives you a heck of a lot of value.
Yeah. A 4-mana 4/3 menace is not a card I'm like chomping at the bit to play, but you add the text, if it hits them, you win the game. That makes me a lot more likely to want to do it.
Yeah, agreed. And this will get sniped a lot for, either cheaper or the same amount of mana to kill it. But the times when it doesn't, you can get it through.
Yeah.
Yeah. The upside is just simply there. That's the bottom line. I would go B for, I'm going to say Yekt.
Yekt. I think that sounds about right.
So funny. We have no clue. Next is the darkness crystal. So here's the black one. It's 2 black for a legendary artifact. Again, black spells you cast 1 less. And it says if a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile it and you gain 2 life. Okay. And then it has the activated ability 4 black and tap it to put target creature card exiled with the darkness crystal onto the battlefield tapped under your control with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it. Man, this is another really slow one. Like that is...
Yeah.
That is really
One thing I like about the darkness crystal is that you gain 2 life. So that does make up for the fact that you spent 4 mana and really didn't affect the board. Because if you play this and then trade off, the 2 life, it kind of buys you time to untap, maybe play another removal, which then buys you even more time, at which point you can start activating it, in which case you'll probably win the game.
Definitely.
I had this in a blue-black deck, and I didn't draw it enough to really get a firm opinion because it was pretty good one game and just a blank another game. So my guess is this is about a B-level card. It's like one of those finishers that's really hard. If you don't have a way to kill artifacts, this makes it really hard for you to win a long game against it. but it's also sometimes just going to be straight up dead in hand as your opponent just has a fast draw and this does nothing.
Right. But it does feel like if you activate it even once, like you're doing a lot. 2 additional +1/+1 counters is a total game changer. Like basically anything you bring back is going to be upgraded from whatever it was to pretty darn good at the minimum, if not oppressive, just because it's huge. I agree with you, B, and I would give it a build around grade as well. I don't think you would just throw this into every single deck. You do need some removal on your side. You need some defensive type things to help you set up the Darkness Crystal, and then I think I'd feel a little bit better about it. Next is Vincent Valentine. This is 2 black for a 2/2 legendary assassin at rare. And it says, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a number of +1/+1 counters on Vincent Valentine equal to that creature's power. And whenever Vincent Valentine attacks, you may transform it. If you do, it becomes Galleon Beast, which is a 3/2 legendary werewolf beast with trample and lifelink. And when it dies, you return it to the battlefield tapped front face up. Wow.
This card's ridiculous.
That's a regular rare?
I've had it once and played against it once, and it was just incredible. So, first of all, if anything dies, it just gets gigantic. And once you flip it, it's really hard for anything to go wrong. Even if it has no counters on it, you flip it into a 3/2, and then if they kill it, it just comes back. Like, they have to have exile or something like that. It's the kind of card that when it's in play, you feel like you're on your opponent's side, you kind of feel like you're losing. You're just like, if anything dies, this gets massive. Then when it flips, it keeps all the counters.
Right. Like, and it's way better threat, and then it comes back. So the weakness here, though, is that you have dumped 2 double black into a 2 toughness creature. So it is a lightning rod of all lightning rods,
definitely.
Right? Okay.
They have usually like a 1-turn window to kill it, at which point you'll flip it. And the sick part is it even has lifelink, which means that they can't like ignore it or try to race it very often.
Totally.
So
even trample?
Yes, there's a 1-turn window, and they thunder magic and just kill it right when you play it. You're not going to end up feeling great about that exchange. But I think most of the time you're just that this card is in play. You're going to be pretty happy with it. Obviously, sometimes they will kill it.
I think that to even it out, I would give it in the B or B plus range. I do think that it is a liability in that sense, like a 1 mana removal spell or a 2 mana removal spell killing a 2 double black card is. That is a liability. Like that's the type of thing that makes it tough to win a game. And I don't want to discount that. But every other time when this thing survives, if they can play it plus a removal spell in a turn, it gets really nasty. And I want to respect the upside of it as well. So I'll go B, maybe B plus for Vincent Valentine. What do you want to give it?
I think B plus. It is a removal test. If you don't have it, you often will be losing the game.
Xenos Yay Galvis.
Yay.
I mean, it honestly looks like somebody like sneezed when they were typing out some of these names.
Some of these names are pretty wild.
Like, why is that lowercase yay? Okay. It's 3 black for a 4/4 legendary human noble warrior at rare. And it has when Xenos enters, choose a creature an opponent controls until end of turn, creatures other than Xenos and the chosen creature get -2/-2. And when the chosen creature leaves the battlefield, you transform Xenos into Shinryu Transcendent Rival, which is an 8/8 legendary dragon with flying. Hey, a dragon with flying. Cool. As this creature transforms into Shinryu, choose an opponent. When the chosen player loses the game, you win the game. That's so funny for non-multiplayer.
Yeah, it just doesn't do anything.
It does nothing. But it's still an 8/8 flyer on the dragon side, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
these cards are going so hard, Luis.
Yeah, so you're going to play this. You're going to choose usually like a 3/3 or something that wouldn't die to the -2/-2 anyway. And then you're going to end up getting a 5 mana 4/4 that maybe sweeps some of their stuff, and if it flips into just a giant creature with no actual text on it besides flying, this looks okay. there's some matchups where it's going to be really good. The sweeper effect is a wide range, right? You play against white green or red white, and the sweeper is going to be really good. You play against like blue black or the town deck, and it might do nothing. So I think that all balances out to like a B.
Yeah,
like it's going to have high highs, but it's also some games going to be not that relevant.
Agreed. Certain matchups is going to be just devastating. Next is Zodiarch Umbral God. This thing costs black, 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 black. That's 5 black mana for a 5/5 legendary creature. Yes, God. This is a rare with indestructible. And when it enters, each player sacrifices half of the non-God creatures they control of their choice, rounded down. And when a player sacrifices another creature, you put a +1/+1 counter on Zodiarch. So there's some interesting text here, but does the 5 black mana symbols make it just a mono black only type scenario?
Pretty close to it. I can imagine a deck that is not like literally mono black, but is like very close to mono black using it. But I would just basically call this like a build around B, where if you can have you can have a deck that has maybe like 13 swamps, two like black red duels and like 2 mountains or something like that, or maybe like 12 swamps and 2 and 3, and that deck would still be kind of functional. But most of the time, you're not gonna be able to play this. If you see this card in pack 2 or 3, the odds that you can put it in your deck seem quite low.
Yeah, I have a hard time imagining this scenario where this works out. You have to just kind of get lucky and get it in pack 2 or 3 when you're already super heavy black, because there's no way I'm first picking Zodiarch and being like, all right, I'm going to do like this card's fine, but like, I don't know, somebody's just going to play a stupid Oblivion Ring or the blue tap down thing on it. And I'm going to be like, I built my entire deck for a 5/5. Like, why did I do this? Like, what was my thinking? It's not like this is like a you win the game card or something.
They're going to sack some of their creatures. You're going to sack some creatures. It'll be like a 7/7, 8/8, maybe 9/9, whatever.
Right.
And you're just going to end up in a spot where you got an advantage, but if they then answer this, like the game continues to progress. So it's a build around, but it's kind of like a build around D almost. Yeah, you really shouldn't be trying to do
mediocre.
This.
I mean, this is what's going to happen. You're going to build your whole deck and they're going to go syncopate. You're like, okay, why did I do this? Next is Summon Primal Odin. This is 4 black for a 5/3 saga. This is a enchantment creature saga knight. It's rare. It has 3 distinct chapters. The first one is destroy target creature an opponent controls. So you get a 6 mana 5/3 ETB, blow up a creature. Nice. Number 2 is this creature gains, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. And then if you make it to chapter 3, you draw 2 cards and each player loses 2 life. This is sweet. This card is awesome. That's a lot of great stuff there.
Believe it or not, I've lost to the second mode of this already.
I already did too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
My opponent went ramp spell into Summon Titan, which is the saga we'll get to later, which mills 4 or mills 5, brings back a bunch of lands, then gives a creature +X and trample or X number of lands. They just went turn 4 Summon Titan, turn 5 Odin, and then it just attacked with this thing. It was like a 12 trample. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I'm dead.
That's funny. Right. Yeah, I had to decide how many blockers to leave back, and I decided to leave 2, and my opponent killed both and then killed me. I was like, all right, yeah, you got it. Wow. Okay. Anyway, but this card's great, right? Because sometimes you have those scenarios where you can steal a game or win a game outright because of it, but just at face value, it's already good. 6 mana, blow up a creature, make a 5/3. Then if it happens to sneak through, you win. But if you can't, you can also just sit there and then you get 2 cards. Yes, you lose 2 life, but so do they. And you're obviously up in that exchange as well. I mean, even the scenario where you just play this, blow up a thing and then block and trade with some attacking creature, you're still ahead. So I can't find a scenario where you're not doing great off of Summon Primal Odin.
Yeah, and 6 mana is like kind of the sweet spot of like, it's expensive, it's the high end of the curve, but hey, you can cast a 6 mana spell pretty much every game.
Yeah. I would say A for Summon Primal Odin.
I like A.
Arden the Usurper is the last black card. It costs 8 mana. It's 5 black for a 4/4 legendary elder human noble at rare. It says demons you control have menace, lifelink, and haste. And it has, at the beginning of combat on your turn, exile up to one target creature card from a graveyard. If you exiled a card this way, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's a 5/5 black demon. What do they have? Menace, lifelink, and haste?
Yeah, this was my first pick of the format, which unfortunately I never actually cast it in that game, but it still seemed pretty good to me, and I think this card's awesome. I would give it a builder on A, because to cast a 5 black spell, you do have to do some work, but you really do get the payoff here. Like it is incredible.
And so you play this, and then you immediately say, okay, go to combat, and you get the 5/5, and it has menace, lifelink, and haste right now. And you get ETBs off of it or whatever. You
play this, and then you immediately get to smash for 5 and gain 5. So it's like you're not really paying too much of a, like you're getting your money's worth right away. Like you right away are getting to do a lot in terms of board stabilization. So
yeah, I like this as a finisher for a control deck. But as you said, the downside that you mentioned is you didn't get to cast it, and that's going to happen a fair bit of the time when you play a mana-intensive 8-drop. I would give it a B or a B+ for Arden the Usurper. You know, this is the type of card that has its role, but I don't think that this is just like a windmill slam every time, and you know, you just throw it in any black deck.
I think
that type of
pack
card.
1 it almost is. Like I would basically like I think it's probably better than all the commons and uncommons.
But you just wouldn't throw it into any black deck. Like if you're, you know, an aggressive black deck, you may not be interested in this over like a removal spell or something.
It's true, but you have to be pretty late in the draft for me not to consider like pivoting to a deck that can support this if I was already in black. So I think build around A, or you could give it a B. It's kind of both those things.
Okay. That's it for black. That moves us to red. Our first card is Rauban, Bull of Alamigo. This is 1 and a red for a 2/2 legendary human warrior at rare. It has ward, pay life equal to Rauban's power. And it says whenever it attacks, attach up to one target equipment you control to target attacking creature. That's really annoying. Like that is definitely a lot of stuff for a 2-drop in an aggressive deck. I mean, that thing would be
and
big
it punishes them for messing with it, which is nice. It really goes like Warrior's Sword or other expensive equipment.
Right.
So, and a 2 mana 2/2. So I would give Rauban a B. It looks like a good card for most aggressive red decks.
And you can attach the equipment to any attacking creature, including itself, right?
Yes.
So you could play this by itself. Next turn, play your equipment. You maybe even, you get the 1/1 out of it, and then you turn this thing sideways and just slam them for $1 billion. That's extremely annoying. Because if its power starts to get up into the 4 or 5 range, and you've already taken 2 hits from it, like now they may not be able to kill it without killing themselves. So yeah, I like B for Rauban as well. Next is Summon Brynhilder. This is 1 and a red for a 2/1 enchantment creature Saga Knight at rare. And it has 3 chapters. The first one is exile the top card of your library. During any turn you put a lore counter on this saga, you may play that card. And chapters 2 and 3 are the same. They are when you next cast a creature spell this turn, it gains haste until end of turn. It's annoying. I've played against this card. It's definitely pulls its weight. This is a very strong card in an aggressive deck. You basically get a card back, and it makes your next 2 turns that much more scary because you guys have haste.
Solid B. Just
a B.
Good in any red deck. It's better the lower your curve is, but the fact that you either have 3 turns, or if they just kill this right away, maybe you don't get the card, but you have 3 turns to play the card, so you probably will be able to in most scenarios.
That's the only downside is that if they snipe it, but then you're still 1 for 1.
But also, if you draw it late game, you're just going to get to play it right away. They don't really have a window to do that. So
exactly. Yep.
I like B for Summon Brynhilder. It's a much better Abbot of Carol Keep, and that card was totally fine.
And that was a good card too. Yeah. Next is Firion Wild Rose Warrior. This is 2 and a red for a 3/3 legendary human rebel warrior rare. It says equipped creatures you control have haste. And whenever a non-token equipment you control enters, create a token that's a copy of it, except it has this equipment's equip abilities cost 2 less to activate. Sacrifice that token at the beginning of the next end step.
I mean, this card is so messed up with job select equipment. I lost so badly this morning, actually, to
So what
turn
happens?
3 this. Well, what happens is you cast this on turn 3, and then on turn 4, you cast a Warrior's Sword. You put a second copy in. It then makes a second token, and then you attack for 8 with them because they both have haste.
That's absurd.
And then at the end of turn,
and you don't care about
off.
the equip thing.
You don't care too much about spending to equip. That could happen if you played like a non-job select equipment and then you immediately put it on something to give something haste.
Okay, that's absurd. And then the equipment token goes away, but you still get to keep the job select token after that.
Yeah. So you hit him for a bunch, and then at the end of that, you're left with a 1/1, and you hit them for 8. In the case of Warrior Sword, it's obviously not as good with some of the other ones, but it's not like you're really missing out. Like any job select card is going to be really good there.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so this is a job select build around. The good news is the job select stuff is good, and it just seems to go into these decks
plentiful,
regardless.
and specifically, Warrior's Sword is not a high pick card for most people. It will be for you, but that's kind of like the strength of taking Furion. So I would give Furion like a build around A. Like I think in the right deck, it's incredible.
This is the scariest thing you could do on 3 in that deck.
And it's just a B in most decks because it's 3 mana, 3/3 that gives you value. Also, your opponent's really going to try hard to kill if they can.
Definitely. Next is Vaughn Street Thief. This is 2 and a red for a 2/2 legendary human scout at rare. Whenever one or more scouts, pirates, and or rogues you control deal combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library. You may cast it. If you don't, create a treasure token. It is of note there that you do have to actually spend the correct mana to cast it, right? That's kind of the joke here.
Yeah, it makes treasures. It's kind of like Ragavan.
Right.
They're like, well, this makes treasures, so you actually get to cast it that way.
Well, so like if you don't cast it, then you get a treasure, and then the next time you hit, maybe the treasure allows you to. Next, and then it also has, whenever you cast a spell you don't own, put a +1/+1 counter on each scout, pirate, and rogue you control. These cards are always annoying. Because you have to like track a bunch of stuff that isn't otherwise relevant in the set. Like, oh, how many rogues do I have at any given point? Right. And it's just, I don't know. Also, this card doesn't have haste. But it does have the static ability that feels like haste if you do have a board full of scouts, pirates, and or rogues. I don't know. I don't know how many of these are in the set. I have no idea how. I mean, I can look that up, but I don't know. Knowing how many there are doesn't even tell you the full story, because what colors do they pile into, and are they the good cards that you actually want, or are they junky? Because there's no way I'm going to try to build around Vaughn if I'm not going to put bad cards in my deck to try to make Vaughn a thing, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think this card is like a C. You're not often going to get tons of value off it, and it's a 3 mana 2/2, so like it's mostly like contingent on do you have like other evasive versions of these cards, which I don't think is going to come together a whole lot. So I'm not super impressed with Vaughn.
Yeah, C for Vaughn Street Thief. Next is Zell Dinkt.
Zell Dinkt.
This is 2 and a red for a 0/3 legendary human monk at rare. It says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Zell gets +1/+0 for each land you control. And at the beginning of your end step, return a land you control to its owner's hand. This is an interesting one to see in red, Luis. This has green vibes to it, but it's red. Kind of cool. This would be a welcome addition to the Towns deck.
Yeah.
I
had this with the rare red land, and it's really strong.
That's nice.
Because you cast, so the red adventure, or the whole cycle of adventure lands. So I spent 3 mana, made my 0/1 wizard, then just played the land out of my adventure zone, then bounced it with this end of turn, and just kept doing that. So it goes pretty hard with one of those cards.
Yeah, my opponent did the same thing, except for it was with the stupid gain 2.
Sure. So that's a little less powerful, but also kind of annoying.
Wasn't quite as impressive. So it gets +1/+0 for each land you control. So as a 3-drop, it's a 3/3, and the next turn you probably play a land, or maybe even that turn you play a land and you get a 4/3. How excited are we just about that part? The fact that it's a 5/3, a 6/3, a 7/3 at some point in the game.
Okay, I don't think I would tend to play this unless I had some good landfall stuff or was really ramping, because
So you wouldn't play it for the power and toughness part.
I mean, I wouldn't play it just for that. Like,
Okay.
I don't think. Like, imagine this in red white, where the fact that you're bouncing and replaying the lands is kind of immaterial.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you do get ahead. So, like, on turn 3, you play this, play land 4, then it bounces up. You're back at 3. The next turn you go lands 4 and 5. So you have 5 lands in play on turn 4. You do get 1 ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You'd play it as like basically a 3-mana that kind of attacks as like a 4/3 or a 5/3 if you have that many lands. Yeah, no, I don't think I'm that impressed with it. Outside of I'm re-triggering landfall or bouncing rare lands. Those are all good reasons to do that.
Okay. That being said, what do you think? Like B- for Zell?
I think I would give it a B in those decks, and I would try not to play it outside of that. So it's kind of a build around. Like you do want to be doing something with this, or it's just not going to work.
Right, because you have to remember you must return a land you control, and that is can be an issue. Next is Nibelheim of Flame. This is 2 red for a sorcery at Mythic rare. Choose target creature you control. It deals damage equal to its power to each other creature. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, discard your hand and draw 4 cards. And you may be wondering how you could do that. Well, it has flashback for 5 red.
Yeah, this card's great.
So do you like it just for the flashback aspect? These type of cards are precarious, right? They have a high setup cost in that you need to choose a creature you control, meaning you need to have it. But beyond that, these things pop off, right? These are one-sided sweepers.
What I like about this is you start by casting it and probably like sweeping the board or getting the board to a pretty manageable position, right? Because you cast it on a 3/3 and it kills most other things and leaves you with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the threat of casting it for 7 and kind of winning the game because you're re-sweeping the board and then drawing 4. So it gives you the 7 mana win the game alongside a sweeper. Isn't that kind of perfect?
Kind of it is. How does the choose target creature you control part work?
It just means target creature.
Okay. So meaning my opponent can kill the creature.
They can definitely fizzle it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the
biggest drawback, is that you need a creature with decent power and they have an opportunity, especially if you've cast this once, it's in your graveyard, they're going to know you want to cast it again.
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, these kind of cards scare you, right? Because this also, the incentives align improperly for you, right? In that most of the time, again, it's funny, they align improperly and properly. Most of the time, your best creature is also your creature with the highest power, and targeting it to try to get even further ahead and having your opponent kill the creature that they wanted to kill anyway while blanking your Nibelheim of Flame is a disaster. But if it does get through, you are left with the best creature on the board and you've killed everything else, and you're probably going to mop up that game in short order. So this is one of those big inflection point type cards that you have to be it's a sorcery. Like you have to be really, really careful about how you do it. But if you do, this could be like a 4-mana Dune Blast or something, right? I mean, this thing has absurd upside to it.
Very good with Death Touch.
Very good with Death Touch. And as you mentioned, the flashback side of things is kind of a complete game changer.
I think Nibelheim of Flame is an A. Like there are games where it's not going to work out, but the package of sweeper into 7 mana sweeper plus draw 4 is just an incredible one. I would be looking for the Grand Mal Ochus, the 1 mana Death Touch.
Yeah, the green guy. Yeah, for sure. Okay, yeah, I'm going to go B+ on Nibelheim of Flame. I'm trying to factor in that downside as much as I can, just because it is very real. If your opponent has blue and black mana sitting there, you just really can't run this out, and if that's the turn when you need to do it, it's going to be a big problem. But the times when it pops off is going to be insane. Next is Cypher Almasi,
I think.
Almasi. This is 3 in a red for a 3/4 legendary human knight at rare. It says whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets double strike until end of turn. And then it has whenever Cypher deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target instant or sorcery card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell will be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. Nice.
Yeah.
This is a good card.
It's funny, both Cloud Squall and Cypher have a very similar, like 4 mana, 3/4 give a thing double strike.
Yeah.
But you play this, you attack with a big creature. That's great. Even if you have like a Wyvern Dragoon, like the 2/1 flyer, you just attack that for 4. And then when this attacks, they kind of have to block it because otherwise you're gonna get a lot of value.
Yeah, you can hit twice. You'll get 2 triggers off of it. Yeah, really sweet.
So I like Cypher. I'd give Cypher probably a B+.
I would too. B+ for Cypher. That card goes into basically any red deck and will do well. Next is Summon GF Cerberus. This is 2 red for a 3/3 enchantment creature Saga Dog at rare. It has 3 distinct chapters. Chapter 1, Surveil 1.
I don't know, dog. What's up with you?
Chapter 2 is so Surveil 1. Chapter 2 is when you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. And chapter 3 is when you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it twice. You may choose new targets for the copies.
I mean, this is just very clearly like a build around like B, where if you've got a bunch of spells in your deck, this card can do some really good work. If you don't have spells, it's really not that good. It's a 4 mana 3/3 Surveil 1 that attacks once then dies. Mm-hmm. So if you've got good spells, this card is going to be one of the better cards in your deck. You cast this, and the next turn you copy like, Thunder Magic or Eject or something, and you're just really happy. So I think in blue-red and black-red, this card's going to be extremely dangerous. Well, it's interesting. In red-white and red-green, it's going to be worse. But if your red-white opponent casts this on turn 4, you probably have to think, well, they're planning on playing spells. Like why would they put this card in your deck? So it's kind of a must kill because you're not going to find out. You don't have there's no timing window where you're like, well, if they have a spell, I'll kill it. No, if they have a spell, they're copying it. So you have to decide whether you think they have a spell if you have the ability to kill it, and you have to just do it. So maybe it's just a B. Like it is a build around in some senses, but you will play
you
this card
have
a lot,
to respect it as a B. So that kind of makes it a B. It's kind of walking the walk, right?
Yeah.
Next
the dog's wagging the tail, or the tail's wagging the dog, rather.
Yeah. It's a Saga Dog. The next is the Fire Crystal, which is 2 red for a legendary artifact at rare. Red spells cost 1 less to cast for you. This one gives your creatures haste. It's 4 drop that gives your creatures haste. Okay. And the activated ability is 4 red, tap it, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step.
I don't think this one's
this
good.
one's falls a little short.
I would give this basically enough. Like I just don't. You don't want to pay 4 for a cost reduction in haste, and paying 6 to copy on your creatures. Like how often are you really going to be able to do that?
Yeah, it just doesn't seem likely. And then also, again, as you mentioned, it's on board, and they can respond, right? I guess you could
spend 6.
You could do this end step on your opponent and do the thing you want to do, right?
Sure. Yeah, if you think they have removal, you can just pass and then do it on their end step. But you do I would give the Fire Crystal enough. I just don't think you should put this card in your deck.
Next is Clive Ifrit's Dominant. This is 4 red for a 5/5 legendary human noble warrior. This is a mythic rare. And this says, when Clive enters, you may discard your hand, then draw cards equal to your devotion to red, which is each red mana symbol on permanents you control. So you get 2 and then maybe something else. And then it has activated ability of 4 red and tap it. You exile it, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control at sorcery speed, and it becomes Ifrit, Warden of Inferno, which is a 9/9 legendary enchantment saga demon with 3 chapters. First chapter is Ifrit fights up to 1 other target creature. So that basically means kill 1 because this thing is a 9/9. Chapters 2 and 3 are the same. They add 4 red mana. If Ifrit has 3 or more lore counters on it, exile it, then return it to the battlefield front face up. So you get 4 mana, then on its way out, it gives you 4 mana and it becomes Clive again on the other side.
Yeah. I mean, great card.
They're not messing around with these.
Yeah. I don't know how often you're actually going to end up
the hand
discarding your hand, but at 6
Probably
mana,
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a deck with this where I cast it 3 times and never chose to do it, but it was like a town ramp deck where I just always had cards in my hand. but you have at least devotion of 2. So you're already like discard your hand, draw 2 is not terrible. And sometimes it'll be like 3 or 4. And then they have to kill it, or you just pay 6 and you, again, like it's not exactly win the game on all these sagas. But the reason that we kind of use shorthanded as win the game is if you get to play a 6-drop and then spend 6 and flip it and they don't disrupt that, and then you get a 9/9 that eats their best creature, like, yeah, what is going on where you're losing that game, right?
You're winning that game. That means they can't interact with what you're doing.
Right. So I think Clive's like an A-, like does run into the problem of I spent 6 on this and then they killed it, right? They cast Sephiroth's whatever, the 4-mana destroy creature. But the combination of sometimes you'll get to discard your hand to draw 2 or 3 cards, which can be really good. You might have 0 cards or 1 card in your hand. And B, if they don't have it, you do win. You're not forced to use it, by the way. If you play this and your opponent then just passes the turn back with 6 mana up, why don't you just do something else instead? Don't try to flip it, Right. So you don't have to play into their obvious removal. So I would give it an A-. I still think it's a really good card.
I would too.
It obviously does have some danger to it if you invest tons of mana and don't get anything out of it. But the combination of an ETB plus the payoff being massive, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, and the last thing I would add is the 5 toughness does make it relatively difficult to kill.
Yeah, look, they can't all be Meringue River Regents where like nothing their opponent does can stop you from getting value. Like it could be a good card even if it's interactable.
Right. Next is Gilgamesh, Master at Arms. This is 4 red for a 6/6 legendary human samurai. This one's rare. And when it enters or attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put any number of equipment cards from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order. When you put 1 or more equipment onto the battlefield this way, you may attach one of them to a samurai you control. God dang, that's good. Wow. You get really all of them out of 6 too?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that the equipment in the set is actually like,
they're just
this is the first time in a while that the equipment stuff actually like kind of does work. So
it really works. I mean, they're creatures.
Respect that. Yeah, that's the thing.
They're creatures with a backup plan. They're not equipment, right? Like that's a better way to look at it.
So I think Gilgamesh it is a build around in the sense that you'll want to maximize your equipment in order to really make this card pop. But on the other hand, I kind of think that if you have a red deck, you're mostly just going to put this card in the deck and it's going to be good.
You're going to have a few job select equipment. And then I think the algorithm for what you hit is like any non-job select stuff. Go ahead. If you hit one, go ahead and equip it to Gilgamesh because why not? Because that's your samurai. You probably won't have another one. But the job selects, you probably just leave, right? Like it's usually like you already have a 6/6 here. Like what do you need to make it a 9/7 or whatever? Like it's not going to be that much different. So,
I like B.
I like Gilgamesh, B, but I would do build around A. Like if you push,
take the words right out of my mouth. So B for Gilgamesh, build around A. If you can, because job select means there's no real cap on how many equipment you can play.
Right.
If you end up with 7 or 8 equipment in your deck and you cast this card, you're gonna be pretty happy. I would say.
Nasty. Last red card is Triple Triad, which is 3 red for an enchantment at rare. It says at the beginning of your upkeep, each player exiles the top card of their library. Until end of turn, you may play the card you own exiled this way, and each other card exiled this way with lesser mana value than it without paying their mana costs.
Yeah, so what it means is you always get to play your card for free, and sometimes you also get to play their card for free if yours was more expensive.
Okay. So it's like playing War?
Yeah, kind of, except you always know you're getting yours, and then some amount of the time you also get theirs.
So you do
get interesting.
You get a free card plus some percentage of the time an extra. That's kind of interesting, actually.
And I mean, obviously, like we don't know the exact mana value of both players, but I think you can shorthand it to about half the time because half the time you're just going to be worth more. Like probably slightly more than half because a red-green ramp deck is going to have a higher curve. But like you could call it half. Like that's close enough.
And is this play or it is play, right? So like if they reveal a land and you reveal any spell, you get both?
Yeah.
So the question then just becomes, are we willing to play a 6 mana triple red card that does stone nothing until your next upkeep and then hope that 1.5 cards, including not having to pay the mana at that point, is enough to get us ahead?
Yeah, that is the question. And I don't know the answer to that yet because triple red is a lot and 6 mana do nothing is a cost. But I can imagine red green like It has lots of good ways to ramp, like summon a Frit, right? The 3/2 that gives a red. You've got like a Call the Mountain Chocobo to get more mountains, and obviously all the green ramp stuff.
Yeah.
It seems like a pretty legit payoff. So
I
kind
kind
of
of
looks
like
to me
it
like
for
a
red-green.
build around B. Like
Yeah.
triple red and 6 mana combined means you have to be intentional about playing this. But if you do, like I think it actually does the job.
It certainly would win you the game over time. It's just, do you have the time? That'll move us to green. Our first card is called Esper Origins. This is 1 and a green for a sorcery at rare. It says Surveil 2, you gain 2 life. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, exile it, then put it onto the battlefield transformed under its owner's control with a finality counter on it. And yes, that does mean that it has flashback. The flashback cost is 3 and a green. So Surveil 2, gain 2, and then you can flash it back for 3 and a green. But if you do, you also get Summon Esper Maduin, which is a 4/4 enchantment creature saga elemental with 3 chapters. Chapter 1, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a permanent card, put it into your hand. Chapter 2 is add 2 green mana. And chapter 3 is other creatures you control get +2/+2 and trample until end of turn.
I mean, you'd be very happy to cast Esper Maduin for 4 mana. You kind of get to do that by flashing this back, but of course you have to do the work of casting Esper Origins first, which is not worth a card.
Right.
Surveil 2, gain 2 is obviously not good enough. But I think even if you look at this as not 6 mana, because 2 + 4 is way less than 6, as we've talked about many times, because you get to cast the 2 at a time that's convenient and then later cast the 4. Like you could even do it turn 2, turn 4, though I think it's better to not try to do that generally. Though it's actually really good still. I don't know. The Esper Maduin gives you a card right away, then gives you mana to cast it, and then gives you a little overrun.
Yeah.
What I really like about this is you play like Village Greeter, like the 2 mana 1/1 that mills, and then you just mill this card.
Totally. Milling it, surveilling it, or milling it is great.
I don't know. I think this card's good enough to just cast and definitely good enough to, if you've got some mills, so I would give it an A. Like,
yeah, I think this is like an A-, maybe a B+, but this is a card I am playing for sure. Next up is Tifa Lockhart. This is 1 and a green for a 1/2 legendary human monk at rare. She's got trample and landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, double Tifa Lockhart's power until end of turn.
like more of a constructed card to me. Like,
because you want to do like 2 lands at once or something,
or you just pump it first, right? Like you like you pump this and then you landfall and it does like monstrous rage and standard, that sort of thing. But when it comes to limited, like I don't think that this card is actually really going to do that much. Like it's a 2 mana that's going to like attack as a 2/2 a lot of the time. And if you have a pump spell, you can maybe get something going, but I don't think that's mostly what's going to happen with Tifa. So looks like a C to me. It looks like
it looks like a C or a C-. The toughness doesn't change, right?
Yeah. So let's just for the sake of argument, you play this, you give it like
+3/+3
+2 +2 or +3/+3, and then you attack for 6 or 8 damage. That payoff doesn't seem worth the cost of having a 2 mana 1/2 blocker or maybe 2/2 attacker. Like it just does so little on its own. So
you really need to have a double landfall turn with a pump spell to make this like holy crap.
Then we're talking, know.
Right.
Like if you have like Gladiolus the 6-drop, I guess that's kind of the perfect card, right? You play the 6-drop, you stack it, you +2/+2, you double it. Yeah,
does Zell
something there
work here? Are they friends? You get to play an additional land, so I guess you just get that part of
that part is good. I mean, any land ramp is good. So,
but again, you really do need the pump spell to make it stupid.
Yeah, this looks like a build around C to me, where like you don't even want to play it unless you're building around it. At which point, it's not like an amazing card. That's generally not a good grade.
Build around C is a special grade. That's for Tifa. Next is Traveling Chocobo, which is 2 and a green for a 3/2 bird at Mythic. It says, you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play lands and cast bird spells from the top of your library. And if a land or bird you control entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. I mean, but this doesn't have the Chocobo ability?
It itself does not have the Chocobo ability.
Come on. They just ran out of space. They wanted to put it on there. They didn't have a font small enough to allow it. They did it with like every other one.
It's true.
This is sweet though.
Yeah, great card.
Yeah.
3 mana, 3/2 lets you play lands off the top is just a card I'm very happy to play.
Yeah.
And
then if you build around it fully, I mean, you could have a real engine going.
Well, it also lets you play birds, so it's straight up already, getting you some value, and it also lets you double your bird related triggers or landfall related triggers. So I kind of like A- for Traveling Chocobo. If your opponent ever casts this, you're really going to want to kill it quickly. Definitely.
And it just seems to fit into multiple, landfall plus bird themes. It really does cover those bases, and you could do one or both. Next is Saz Katzroy. This is 3 and a green for a 3/3 legendary human pilot at rare. It says when it enters, you may search your library for a bird or basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. Whenever Saz attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, then double the number of +1/+1 counters on that creature. I've played against this card and I was like, where's the downside here? Like, yeah, sure, it's a 4 mana 3/3. I guess the stats aren't amazing, but holy smokes, this card was good. My opponent went and got like the best Chocobo or whatever it was, and then they slammed, and I'm like, what the heck? That takes like a 9/9 or something out of nowhere. This card's good.
Yeah, I had it in a deck with no birds, and it was great. 4 mana 3/3 goes and gets a land, and then attacks as a 5/5, or pumps other things or whatever. So I like B+ for Saz.
I would probably go A-.
A-, sure.
A straight up 2-for-1, and then a must deal with threat. That's a lot for 4 mana. Next is Summoner's Grimoire. This is 3 and a green for an artifact equipment. It's rare. It has job select, so you get the 1/1. It has an equip cost of 3, which is typical for these rares. It's been lower. And then it says equipped creature is a shaman in addition to its other types, and has whenever this creature attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield. If that card is an enchantment card, it enters tapped and attacking.
So it's basically an Elvish Piper of sorts. And
but this does not augment the creature itself, right? It just gives it this ability. Like it doesn't.
Yes,
give
it's still just a 1/1.
I'm generally down on cards like this. It's just a little too much upfront cost. Plus, yes, of course, I can think of the dream where I'm like, I put my 8-drop in and I smash. But there's also the times when you just don't have that in your hand and you're just really questioning your life decisions on playing a 4 mana 1/1.
Yeah, I'm not too impressed by this. I think it just too much has to go right and a lot can go wrong.
I would give it an F. I would give Summoner's Grimoire an F. Just
don't play this card.
Next is the Earth Crystal. This is 2 green for a legendary artifact rare. Makes your green spells 1 less to cast. Static ability: if 1 or more +1/+1 counters will be put on a creature you control, twice that many +1/+1 counters are put on that creature instead. And the activated ability: 4 green, tap it, distribute 2 +1/+1 counters among 1 or 2 target creatures you control. So is that 4 on 1 or 2 on
2?
Two? That's sweet. But it is expensive.
Yeah, 4 + 6
so
is a lot.
expensive.
This doesn't look good to me.
I agree. 10 mana, it's so much.
Yeah, and I think that maybe if you have a bunch of other counter stuff, you could like kind of concoct a justification. But I think Earth Crystal's a D. It just looks too slow to me. I think the crystals in general are not that good.
No, and I like at least the blue one. It doesn't require you to also have creatures on the board to be your inevitability. You can just kill your opponent with it. This is like, hey, let's add some setup cost too. Yeah, D for Earth Crystal. Next is Bart's and Boko. This is 3 green for a 4/3 legendary human bird at rare. It has affinity for birds, which means it costs 1 less to cast for each bird you control. And when it enters, each other bird you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. This is a bird build around, but it's a nice one. It's only it's other birds though, right? So you do actually need other birds to make this a thing. Otherwise, like if you have no other birds, it's literally a 5 mana 4/3.
Right. So this is a build around, but at least it's a strong one. Like
it is. I would give build around B.
Yeah, I like build around B. Someone messaged me on Discord, one of the guys I drafted, who said Bart's is better translated as butts. I don't know why he said that, but he did seem serious. So it's possible that
good for him. I'm going to call it Bart's and Boko.
Yeah, that would be that would be me too.
I'm not taking the risk. But I would give it, build around B plus probably. I mean, this, if you're like straight up birding it up, this is sweet. You're going to get it for 2 or 3 mana. It's going to come down and kill an opponent's thing and creature, and it's going to be cheap too.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited to draft the bird deck. You know, you saw the deck that Cheon posted where he had like tons of, like he had the Chocobo hatchery and this and all this stuff. Like that looks fun. So.
My opponents keep playing it and I'm like vaguely impressed by it and completely uninterested. I'm like, yeah, cool. You have a bunch of power and toughness. Speaking of a bunch of power and toughness, Summon Titan, 3 green for a 7/7 reach trample enchantment creature saga giant at rare. 3 chapters. Chapter 1, mill 5. Now that might not seem great, but chapter 2 says return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And chapter 3, this is the one that Luis referenced earlier. Until end of turn, another target creature you control gains trample and gets +X/+X, where X is the number of lands you control, which is going to be in the 7 to 8 range by the time this thing goes.
I put a milled 4. They milled 4 lands.
I had this card and I milled 2 each time.
They give their Odin +9/+9. And it was okay,
sure. Yeah, so this card's sweet. I mean, it comes down on 5, and admittedly, the mill 5 doesn't do much, but you have a 7/7 reach trample, so your opponent's kind of stopped in their tracks. Then on 2, you get the land bump, which can do landfall triggers and a bunch of cool stuff. And you get to slam for 7 with trample. And then on the 3rd chapter, you just have to make sure that you have a target. It does not matter what it is. It just needs to be something because the thing's getting trample and a huge power bump, and then you can smash them again. This is a lot to deal with for the opponent.
Yeah, I think that Summon Titan is just great, and
I do too.
You ideally have a creature to use the 3rd chapter on. A lot of the power is in the 3rd chapter, but if you do, then yeah, the card is fantastic.
Yeah, the one downside to it is that if they do kill it, let's say they have a black removal spell, so 3 black or 3 green, play it mill 5, it dies. You don't get anything that sticks. Like there's no great value left over. Right. So it does have that one vulnerability. So I would give Summon Titan a B+. It is extremely powerful, but it does have to survive. And that's a little bit of a knock on it. Keeps it out of the A range for me. What do you think?
I like B+ for Summon Titan.
Next green card is a Realm Reborn. It is 4 green for an enchantment at rare. It has mercifully few cards. It says other permanents you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. So just a big fat nothing. F for that. Next is Jumbo Cactuar.
One of the most ridiculous cards in the set.
It's I played
it. Do you got
a
little mustache?
It has it's 5 green. It is a 1/7 plant at rare. But whenever it attacks, this is not a joke. It gets plus 9,999 +0 until end of turn. It becomes a 1,000/7 attacker. So this is a little bit of a joke, right? It does answer an interesting question that's come up over the years on the show about like, what would you pay for a 20
infinite power?
An infinite power creature. And that's effectively what this is. So if it ever hits, it wins. If you can give it trample, it wins. But otherwise, it can just get chump blocked, all day long. And it kind of shows you that exercise in motion. I did play it once. It felt mediocre to me. It was expensive. Yes, it did. It was a must block, of course. But the fact that it has no way to get itself through, like not even menace or anything along those lines, did mean that my opponent had a lot of agency about whether they died to it or not. Because clearing off the entire board is hard.
Do you know how if they fixed on Arena that like if it has trample and they block, do you have to just click a million times to assign the damage? That can't be right?
That I never was able to give it trample, so I don't know.
Okay.
That would be hilarious if you had to do it.
Card doesn't look good to me, but
no, I'm going to say no on it. There's definitely ways it can win the game. The other problem is that on defense, it is just a 1/7. So it does technically block basically everything, but it doesn't even eat it, like.
Right. The turn you play this, it's not like you've stabilized the board with it or anything like that.
You really haven't. They can just go attack with everything. And you're like, oh man, they don't even lose anything in that exchange. There are cool combos, right? +3/+3 trample for 2. But the problem is that this is a 7 mana creature that you're now trying to stack combat tricks on top of to combo. And kind of the whole point of having 7 and 6 and 8 mana cards in your deck is that they just do the thing on their own and they don't need help. So I'm down on Jumbo Cactuar. I would give it a D.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last is Ancient Adamantoise. This is a
Adamantoise.
Adamantoise. Like a tortoise? Adamantis? Anyway, 5 green. I
don't think we can blame this one on Final Fantasy. This is could clearly have just been a normal Magic thing.
But it doesn't make, like we say tortoise. So Adamantis?
Yeah, you have a point there. I hate to hand it to you, but
so this is, which would be a normal Magic thing, by the way. So this is 8 mana, 5 green. I don't think I've seen this stat line. It's an 8/20. Tell me that's a new one.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen an 8/20 before.
Because last time I called that out, and you immediately were like, "No, this other card," and I'm like, "Right." Anyway, it is a turtle. It is mythic rare. It has vigilance. It has ward 3. And it says damage isn't removed from this creature during cleanup steps. Okay, so the damage that it takes adds up and sticks. All damage that would be dealt to you and other permanents you control is dealt to this creature instead. And when this creature dies, exile it and create 10 tapped treasure tokens.
So you play this, it has ward 3, it has vigilance, 8 power. It's got sticky damage, as we would call it, and but it also protects you and your other permanents, and then you make 10 treasure tokens when it dies. Yeah, I mean, talk about stabilizing the board. You will keep yourself from dying when you play this card.
I'm not a believer.
Pretty hard.
I'm just so the ward 3 is interesting, but it just comes at a time when you've made 8 mana, so you assume your opponent has at least 6. Their black removal spell's probably live at that point, even through ward 3, but otherwise that's kind of it. I guess blue. Yeah, maybe you're right, nice. Actually. I don't care about the treasures, though. I have 8 mana. Like, why do I need treasures?
you could still use the treasures. Imagine you cast a card draw spell and cast 4 more spells that turn. It sounds great.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So you are making the argument, though, that this is like a really solid stabilizer for a board, right? Like this is difficult to kill. It's got 20 toughness and ward 3. There, a few removal spells will work on it, but most of it won't. They have to kill it, or they can't really kill you in combat for theoretically multiple
And imagine
turns.
if they spend a bunch of time killing this, and then you just get it back from the graveyard with like a various graveyard effect.
Yeah,
doesn't that sound great?
It also is huge. Like 8 power is a ton of power. It looks small next to the 20 toughness, but it's still a lot. Like this will just kill your opponent.
Yeah.
All right. I'm kind of in for the ancient.
Looks like a build around B to me. Like this could be a reason to ramp. A
good ramp finisher. Build around.
And it's
B
in the
for
ramp
ancient.
color, like the main ramp color. So yeah, I want to play this one. I will try it at some point.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you can't keep me away from that turtle. All right, white is our last main color. Then we've got gold in the bonus sheet. White, first card is called Stiltskin Moogle Merchant. This is white for a 1/2 legendary creature Moogle. Oh, it gets its own thing. And it's a rare. It's got lifelink, and it has an activated ability to tap. Target opponent gains control of another target permanent you control. If they do, you draw a card. So you can gift your stuff over to them.
Yeah,
and
this card I think is pretty good. So in the late game, the idea is you just kind of give them lands, and 2-tap, it's not sack a land because they get the land, but 2-tap, they get a land, you draw a card, is still reasonable. Like imagine you both have 7 or 8 lands in play, or in that stage of the game. That's good, right? 1 mana, 1/2 lifelink is also a card of some kind. It's not
is.
like amazing, but it does something. But where I really like it is if you play against a removal deck and have this in play, if they try to kill one of your things, you just give it to them and draw a card.
No way.
It's really nice.
And then it still resolves and kills the thing?
Oh yeah. I mean, unless it's got some reason where it wouldn't, but like I played against
that's extremely annoying.
Yeah, so I played against this card and I didn't kill their thing right away. The next round, I'm like, oh wait, they can just do that. Yeah, I see. That's interesting.
And they just kind of leave that mana up and hang out. Do you want to give a B for Stilt Skin?
I would give it B. A 1 mana card with this big of an effect on the game, I think, is pretty good.
I like that. Next is Cloud Midgar Mercenary. This is white for a 2/1 legendary human soldier mercenary. And it says, when Cloud enters, search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. And as long as Cloud is equipped, if an ability of Cloud or an equipment attached to it triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. So you get an equipment out of your deck just for resolving Cloud.
Yeah, white for a 2/1 kind of like, half of Stoneforge Mystic is great. The set has a lot of good equipment. Like this is, it's kind of like how we say black green counters never gets there. Well, equipment does get there sometimes, and this is one of the times. I think that
for sure.
I'm not saying that the red white deck is necessarily great. I don't have like that high confidence about how good each individual archetype is, but I can tell you that the equipment is good, and like you're happy to put equipment in your deck. So Cloud looks great to me.
Me too.
And like you get to, I don't know how often you're going to use that second trigger, but it's still just white 2/1. Go get one of the job select cards. It's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I like B for Cloud Midgar Mercenary. That seems like a solid 2-for-1. Yes, it's kind of small at 2/1 and it's double white, so you'll play it a little later, but I don't think that there's a point in the game where Cloud isn't good. So
yeah, I agree.
Very nice. From Father to Son, 1 and a white for a sorcery at rare. Search your library for a vehicle card, reveal it, put it into your hand. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, then put that card onto the battlefield instead and then shuffle. And the flashback cost, since you probably figured out that it has one, is 7. It's 4 white. I would just say no here. I don't know if there's you're very there's good vehicles in the set, right? There's the Lunar Whale. I think the 3 mana 3/2 artifact that loots, like the Smuggler's Copter at home. I actually find myself playing that one a good amount of the time. Like there are vehicles that are good, but do you have enough that you have to pay? You don't want to pay 2 to go get one. That's not generally right.
Good.
That's
and
not good.
7 to put it into play is also not that good. This looks like an F to me.
It looks like an F to me too. Maybe just not quite the right place for it. Next is Aerith Gainsborough. This is 2 and a white for a 2/2 legendary human cleric at rare with lifelink. And whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Aerith Gainsborough. Good combo. And when Aerith dies, put X +1/+1 counters on each legendary creature you control, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Aerith. So 2 things that stand out. First one is, how do you get the train rolling on a 3 mana 2/2 lifelink? You need to gain life, but not have it die. What's that?
Yeah, you need a pump spell or equipment. I mean, the 1 mana +2/+2 /+4/+4 spell, like that's that's where this card looks like it would, or that would shine with this card for sure.
And it just will need help. I think that's the main thing that you need to consider, because 3 mana 2/2 is not going to get in on its own. And then the other side is interesting because it looks a little bit like trinket text, right? Like when it dies, you're legendary. It's like, oh, whatever. No. There are tons of legendary creatures in this set. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it was, a commonplace for 2 of your creatures to pick up a bunch of counters here. So that's,
that green-white legend that if you have 2 or more other legends, it flips. Like I've had my opponent flip that already. And it's like, it wasn't even that hard.
It's not even that hard. So many legendary creatures.
One way to look at this card is also, it has provoke. They will always block it if they can. So combat tricks looking really nice here. I think Aerith is going to fit easily at its best in like white green and with like pump spells. And I would just give Aerith a B and prioritize ways to make it so that she survives combat. Removal also does it. Like in white black, if you just kill their first 2 creatures and attack with this, then that also does the trick.
Right. And once you get to 3/3, particularly 4/4, like Aerith is going to kind of get out of control. Next is Venat, Heart of Hydaelyn.
I don't know either.
1 white for a 3/3 legendary Elder Wizard at rare. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. And it's got an activated ability of 7 mana, tap it, and then exile target non-land permanent, transform Venat, and activate it at sorcery speed. So you transform it and you get to exile a non-land permanent, and it becomes Hydaelyn the Mother Crystal, which is a 4/4 legendary creature god with indestructible, and it has, at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control until your next turn it gains indestructible. If that creature is legendary, which as we mentioned will happen quite often, you get to draw a card. So 3 mana, 3/3 that gives you benefits for having legendaries and then becomes like a removal spell into a god if you get to 7 mana.
Yeah, this card's sweet.
What the hell?
I would just give VNAT an A-. Like,
same.
It's, first of all, you're gonna have legends, so you're gonna threaten to draw some cards, but also 3 mana, 3/3 that you spend 7 to just, nuke something and flip into a pretty good creature. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good. I like that.
I like VNAT. Obviously, you do want to find ways to put more legends in because you do want to draw cards, but
Dion Bahamut's Dominant is next. This is 3 and a white for a 3/3 legendary human noble knight at rare. It's got, during your turn, Dion and other knights you control have flying. And when it enters, you create a 2/2 white knight creature token. Wow. So 4 mana for 5 power, 5 toughness worth of flying on your turn. And then it has an activated ability of 4 white, tap it, exile, then returns to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control, once again at sorcery speed. And it becomes Bahamut, Warden of Light, which is a 5/5 flying legendary enchantment creature saga dragon with 3 chapters. First 2 are the same. They are put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. Those creatures gain flying until end of turn, and then you can do that again on chapter 2. Chapter 3 is Giga Flare. Destroy target permanent, exile Bahamut, and then return it to the battlefield, again front face up. This just seems like a joke. Like, this is a real Magic card. This isn't even a Mythic rare. Like, are you crazy?
My opponent cast this on me in one of my first drafts, and I read it, and I'm just like, what are you talking about?
This is crazy. Like, seriously, it's in the A- range without the other side of the card and the activated ability.
Right. So I think this is actually like an A+.
It's an A+.
It's 4 mana, 5/5 worth of stats. If they don't kill it, you win the game. If they do kill it, you're still left with a 2/2. And there are ways to get cards back. And when you have a creature that's this good, like you want to put a few ways to get it back in your deck, and then you really get paid off. So I think that Dion is amazing. It's also pretty splashable. Like, if you open this when you're in the Towns deck, you should just take it. Like,
yeah, totally.
Incredible card. A+ for Dion and Bahamut's Dominant. All the whole Dominant cycle is just really, really good. I mean, I think it's just connected to the summons in the game is my guess. But
okay. Yeah, I don't know. But turning them into dragons is great, but they made them so good on the front that it's like absurd that you have that extra ability. Next is the Wind Crystal. This is 2 white for a legendary artifact. It makes your white spells cost 1 less to cast. Static ability. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. Boo. And then the activated ability is 4 white, tap it. Creatures you control gain flying and lifelink until end of turn. No, I'm just off of this.
Yeah, I think it's an F. The one saving grace, of sorts, is that like you get to spend 6 and then gain tons of life if it all works out.
If it all works out, if you have a good board state, that's true. I just would be willing to bet a lot of money that if you put a card with this mana cost that just had power and toughness and ability into your deck, that you just win more than if you put the Wind Crystal in on average.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it an F.
Yeah, I like F for the
It's a little aggressive, but I think the middle thing doesn't do anything. Next is Machinist's Arsenal. This is 4 and a white for an artifact equipment at rare. It does have job select, and it has equip 4. So this thing's going to be nuts. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 for each artifact you control and is an artificer in addition to its other type. So it gets like bare minimum +2/+2, but it could be +8/+8 or whatever if you're the blue-white deck.
Yeah. I've had this card and it's not really impressed me so far.
So like if you pay 5 mana for a 1/1 with +4/+4, that's already okay, right? If you just have one other artifact.
I mean, I do think the card is good. It's just, it's been a little clunky because part of it is you play this card and then you make like a 7/7 or a 9/9 or whatever, sometimes bigger, but it's just on the ground, no trample, and it's kind of expensive to move.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So this is a build around for the artifacts deck. That's where this thing's going to really shine. Would you give it like a build around B?
Yeah, build around B is exactly what I would do with it.
Okay. Next is Minwu White Mage. This is 3 white for a 3/3 legendary human cleric at rare. It has vigilance and lifelink. So great abilities, but it is a 5 mana 3/3. It says whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on each cleric you control. And yes, Minwu is a cleric.
This looks solid. This looks like a B. Just
I mean, it's similar to Aerith, right? It's like how do you get the ball?
No, it's actually a little worse than that. I would just give this like a C+. Like it's a 5 mana 3/3. You're not going to have tons of clerics in play generally, right?
And you are going to have to use a card to get the ball rolling on this. And if you can't do that, then you're behind. Next is Moogl's Valor. This is 3 white for an instant at rare, and it says for each creature you control, create a 1/2 white Moogle creature token with lifelink. Then creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. And this is an instant. So if you have 3 creatures, you get an additional 3 1/2 white 1/2 lifelinking tokens. And then they and the other stuff all get the indestructible.
Yeah. I think this card is good. I had a blue-white deck that just played this, and it was like relatively, it wasn't even like a creature heavy deck, but it was just like had a decent amount of creatures. And if you ever get 3 off this, it's pretty good because a lot of the times you'll get 3 off this at the same time as winning a combat or blanking a removal spell. And if you get more, it's awesome. So it's expensive. It's the high end of your curve. You want a lot of creatures in your deck. I bet in like red, white, and white, green, it's pretty good. It was good for me in blue, white. Black, white could be, I think it's just a good card. Looks like a B. It's not like a bomb, but it's got a really good dream. I mean,
it does.
If they attack you with 4 creatures and you have 4 creatures and you cast this, you're going to win the game. You're going to kill all their stuff and get a bunch of life. So even casting this to make 2 Moogles and counter a removal spell, 5 mana to make 2 1/2s and counter removal, it's not bad.
Yeah, that's probably good enough. It does have the downside of being, blank if you have 1 or 0 creatures in play. So you do need to kind of tend to your creature count, but that doesn't seem to be a problem in this set. I like B- for Moogl's Valor. That's pretty cool. Next is Ultima. This is 3 white for a sorcery. It is rare. It says destroy all artifacts and creatures, end the turn, which it has a lot of text. Exile all spells and abilities from the stack, including this card. The player whose turn it is discards down to their maximum hand size. Damage wears off, and this turn and until end of turn effects end. That's a bad thing for the caster, right? Like you can't follow up with anything else.
Yeah, that's the downside. The upside is it does stop all death triggers. So if they have death triggers, it'll stop that.
Okay. That is probably better because it's hard to cast this plus something in a turn anyway.
Right. It also stops them from playing like a flash creature end of turn.
Yeah.
So I would say on balance, it's a little bit better for you than bad for you. It's not strict upside, of course.
Okay.
But this looks good. I would give this an A-. Like it's a wrath. You get to.
I really like that it hits artifacts because if it blew up all the creatures but left 2 equipment left over and then anything they cast just becomes huge, it's really annoying. What did you say? A- for Ultima?
I think A-. I mean,
it's a good sweeper.
Like my only like qualm with it is that in the aggressive decks it doesn't fit all that well. But I don't think that's like the death knell for it or anything.
Last white card is summon Knights of the Round, which is extremely expensive. It is 8 mana, 6 white for a 3/3 indestructible enchantment creature Saga Knight at Mythic Rare. But it has 5 chapters on your 3/3 indestructible. Chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all the same, and they are create 3 2/2 white knight creature tokens. Each chapter, you get 3 of them. If you make it to chapter 5 without having already killed your opponent, it says other creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn. Put an indestructible counter on each of them, and then you're losing your precious 3/3 indestructible knight. But you've just flooded the board.
This is good flavor because the Knights of the Round summon in the game. This is one of this is the game I actually watched a decent amount of. It takes forever. The animation is super long. So
oh really?
Yeah. So,
and this makes you wait.
This definitely is a good top down in that sense. This card's awesome. I mean, if you play this and it gets exiled, you still got like 3 knights out of the deal. And a lot of the time you'll play this, it won't die, and then like you get 3 knights and you get 3 knights. Then you're maybe losing to flyers is like the only thing I can think of. The biggest drawback is that it costs 8, but as we've discussed, that is not not just, it doesn't render a card unplayable. It just means you have to work for it.
Right. You have to be willing to build towards
white
it.
Isn't the best color for that. It just doesn't slot into the natural archetypes that support it. But
I would say it's arguably the worst color for that.
Yeah, maybe
red, but
if you get this early, you can still draft a town deck that just makes sure it gets white, white sources. By the time you get to 8 mana, having 2 white is not like an insurmountable challenge. So I would give this a build around A. If you can cast it, you're going to win the game.
Definitely, that is a sweet card. Okay, that moves us to the gold cards where we've got Hope S-Time as our first one. This is blue-white for a 2/2 legendary human wizard at rare with lifelink. And it says at the beginning of your end step, each opponent mills X cards where X is the amount of life you gained this turn. That's probably not a reliable enough alternate win condition. So this mostly will play out as blue-white for a 2/2 lifelink. How do we feel about that?
Passed this card a bunch.
I played it once.
When I was in blue-white artifacts, just because I want most of my cards to be artifacts if I can have that happen. But it's clearly a fine card. It's not,
It really is much closer to just 2/2 lifelink for 2.
I've never seen the ability to do anything. Yeah, I like C for Hope S-Time.
It's hard to cast. Next is Absolute Virtue. This is 6 blue-white for an 8/8 legendary avatar warrior at Mythic Rare. It can't be countered, and it has flying. So 8 mana, 8/8 flying, can't be countered, and you have protection from each of your opponents, which means you can't be dealt damage, enchanted, or targeted by anything controlled by your opponents. So they have to kill this to win the game? Is that the bottom line?
The thing is, the uncounterability can come up. There are some good counter spells in the set.
Definitely.
But the protection's kind of fake because if you're 8-drop giant flyers in play, like your opponent's usually not winning around it anyway. Mm-hmm. So this looks kind of like a D to me, maybe an F, honestly. It's just, this is not what I want to spend 8 mana on. I don't want to spend 8 mana on a card that if they kill it leaves nothing behind and doesn't really further my goals all that much besides being, it is a giant flyer that says you can't take damage. That's true, but I just don't think that's going to translate to winning games all that often.
Yeah, I mean, you will just win the game by attacking with your 8/8 flyer a few times.
Right.
But you didn't need to pay 8 for that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll go low grade DF for Absolute Virtue. Yep. Next is Golbez Crystal Collector. This is blue-black for a 1/4 legendary human wizard at rare. It has whenever an artifact enters, you control enters, you surveil one. And at the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more artifacts, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Then if you control 8 or more artifacts, each opponent loses life equal to that card's power.
I don't have a problem with Golbez's text. It looks pretty good. My main issue is I haven't found blue-black to be that artifact-centric of a deck. Like,
not at all.
Clearly you can do it. There are artifacts in blue and there are some in black and there are colorless ones. But This is kind of like, it's a build around, but it's a build around without much of a home. So it's a build around like B, but I just don't really see it coming together that often.
I don't either. I agree with you. I play blue, black, and artifacts wasn't even part of the theme at all. So build around B, but you may have to work extra hard for that one. Next is Emmett Selch Unsundered. This is 1 blue, black for a 2/4 legendary Elder Wizard at Mythic. It's got Vigilance. And it says when it enters or attacks, draw a card, then discard a card. And it says at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 14 or more cards in your graveyard, you may transform Emmett Selch and it becomes Hades, Sorcerer of Eld, which is a 6/6 legendary avatar with Vigilance. And during your turn, you may play lands from your graveyard, random. And if a card or token would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead.
Yeah, it like Yawgmoth's wills you, where you get to play your whole graveyard, but no new cards are added. This card is great.
And those don't trigger things going to the graveyard. Is that what the token part is? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I would play this without the ability to flip. 3 mana, 2/4 Vigilance that just gives me a loot, and then whenever it attacks, gives me a loot. Awesome. Mm-hmm. And getting to 14 cards, that's not impossible. It's not like going to happen soon, but I've played now with the 4/5 that you spend 8 to flip it if you have 8 cards in your graveyard, a bunch of at this point, and it's really not hard. The main gate there is getting to 8 mana. It's not even 8 cards in your graveyard. So I think Emmett Selch is probably a B+. Like It's mostly a 3 mana 2/4, loot 'em ups, but it can do more than that.
Okay, yeah, I like B+ for Emmett Selch. That's nice. There's so much. These cards are absurd, Luis. Next is Kuja Genome Sorcerer. This is 2 red, black for a 3/4 legendary human mutant wizard at rare. At the beginning of your end step, create a tapped 0/1 black wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell. This token deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then if you control 4 or more wizards, you transform Kuja into Trance Kuja Fate Defined, which is a 4/6 with if a wizard you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. So this is kind of the big payoff for the 0/1 wizards deck.
I mean, this is a payoff for a deck that can cast this card.
Yeah, I mean, I meant the other side. The Trance Kuja is the kind of finisher, but yeah, this card's amazing on its own. I mean, this card's ridiculous on its own.
Yeah, you don't need the flip for this card to be like
right.
Probably an A-. I mean,
maybe just an
4
A.
mana. Yeah, well, with the flip, it's definitely an A. Without the flip, it's still A-. 4 mana, 3/4, pass the turn, make an 0/1. And if you kill it, I'm up a thing. If you don't kill it, like if you ever get 2 of those 0/1 wizards in play, the game just devolves really quickly to
and it's not that hard to do that. They put that extra text on playable cards. This one's well beyond that threshold. So would you go A+ with the flip or just A?
I would just say it's an A. It's just a fantastic card.
Kuja Genome Sorcerer.
Kuja, you don't have to do anything besides cast it for it to be great. So don't, obviously you would want to maximize it because that's what you should do when you draft cards, but it's not a build around. You just put the card in play and it's going to do some good stuff.
Next is Balthier and Fran. This is 1 green red for a 4/3 legendary human rabbit. That's a rabbit. It's rare. It has reach. So 3 mana, 4/3 reach. Already a pretty good start. Vehicles you control get +1/+1 and have vigilance and reach. And whenever a vehicle crewed by Balthier and Fran this turn attacks, if it's the first combat phase this turn, I wonder what could be happening here, you may pay 1 red-green. If you do, after this phase, there's an additional combat phase.
Like C+ for Balthier and Fran, mostly as 3 mana, 4/3 reach, which is totally fine. And sometimes the vehicle stuff will come up, but I don't know how often.
Yeah,
probably pretty good with like the 3/2 flyers, I guess.
You just wouldn't build around it, right? You would just play this for its stats and then see if you hit a couple of decent vehicles. Next is Terra Magical Adept. This is 1 green red for a 4/2 legendary human wizard warrior at Mythic rare. And it says when Terra enters, mill 5 cards. Put up to 1 enchantment card milled this way into your hand. Enchantment card. Okay.
And then sagas and
stuff. Yeah. It has trance. You can pay 4 red, green, and tap it to exile it, then return it to the battlefield transformed under its owner's control. again at sorcery speed, and it becomes Esper Terra, which is a 6/6 flying legendary enchantment creature, saga wizard. 4 chapters total. First 3 are all the same. They are create a token that's a copy of target non-legendary enchantment you control. It gains haste. If it's a saga, put up to 3 lore counters on it. Sacrifice it at the beginning of your next end step. And then chapter 4 is add white, white, blue, blue, black, black, red, red, and green, green. Exile Esper Terra, then return it to the battlefield front face up. Oh my God, Luis, reading these cards is just a chore.
I know,
man.
it's
so
much
slog. Stuff going on these things.
Well, here's the good news. You know, if you're listening to this, well, we're gonna give you what you need to know about these cards. For example, with Terra, yeah, you want to put enchantments in your deck, but if you just can cast this and get an enchantment most of the time, that's already good enough. You're going to be happy with the card, and of course, it gets really good if you have some sagas, and even if you don't. I mean, I wouldn't play this with no enchantments, of course, but getting to flip this and then make a 6/6 flyer that sticks around for a while, that's good even if you're not doing anything with the triggers. And then when you are copying things, then yeah, the card's absurd.
I think you nailed it. I mean, I think that if you do transform this, you're just going to slam for 6 in the air twice and the game's going to be over. Like, yeah, if you're doing anything else. And of course, if you're copying stuff, it's dumb. I think I would give Terra B+. You do need to support it. Like a 3-mana 4/2 is not exciting. The transformability is nice later on as a thing to do, but there's a lot of window there for your opponent to mess with your plans with your 2 toughness creature. So I really want to be able to get the enchantment off of it to make it great. And then I think it's a B+.
B+ for Terra.
Next is Sarah or Sarah, Farron or Farone. This is 1 green-white for a 2/2 legendary human citizen at rare. The first legendary creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 2 or more other legendary creatures, you may transform Sarah into Crystallize Sarah, which is a artifact that says the first legendary, the same thing. It costs 2 less to cast, but it also gives legendary creatures you control +2/+2. Would you build around this? Would you purposely take legendary cards when possible to try to make Sarah Farron a thing?
I don't think so.
Farron.
It's more like if I saw this when I already had pretty close to the amount that I would want, I would consider moving in, but I don't think this is strong enough to like go there early, is my guess.
That's what I would think too. And I think I would want to build around it. Yes, we did mention that there are tons of legendary creatures, but this card is just outright bad. If there's no legends around, like you're not getting the cost down and you're not flipping it ever, and then you're paying a gold 3-mana 2/2. So I would give this to build around flag, but I don't know that I would take it and try to build around it. I would just put this into a deck that already had a bunch of legendary creatures kind of coincidentally. I think you can kind of back your way into this build around rather than having to force it on the front. And I give it a build around B.
Yeah, build around B. The next is Yuna, Hope of Spira. It's 3 green-white for a 3/5 legendary human cleric at Mythic rare. And during your turn, Yuna and enchantment creatures you control have trample, lifelink, and ward 2. So all your saga creatures are getting all of that. And at the beginning of your end step, return up to 1 target enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. So this is a build around A. Like first of all, if you have 0 things that work with it, it is a 5-mana 3/5 trample, lifelink, ward 2. Like you would probably just put that in your deck. Mm-hmm. Like seems pretty good. So that's like a B to start with.
Yeah.
So that's like the floor, but if you ever just play this and get 1 enchantment back, you're already so far ahead of the game. This looks like one of the better cards in the set, honestly.
Definitely. I like A for Yuna, Hope of Spira. Yeah. I mean, it is only on your turn that you get all those extra benefits, but whatever. Next is Squall. Seed Mercenary. Again, somebody sneezed when they were typing this one. 2 black white for a 3/4 legendary human knight mercenary at rare. It has whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike until end of turn. There you go again. Whenever a Squall deals combat damage to a player, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Yeah, I mean, these are
almost
just
exact.
really good. Yeah, it's really similar. Just
Yeah, I mean, they're from the same game. They're rivals, I think.
okay.
It's
This one gets
that's at
permanents. The
least.
other one got spells. Sure.
Yeah, so great card. I mean, would we want to give it like a B plus?
Yeah, I like B plus for Squall. Yeah. That is a great card. Next is VV Ornidier. It's one.
This is maybe the best card in the set for constructed.
Oh, sweet. Let's see what it does. It's 1 blue-red for a 0/3 legendary wizard at Mythic Rare. It has an activated ability of 0 mana. You can add X mana in any combination of blue and or red, where X is VV's power. Activate only during your turn and only once each turn. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on VV, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Wow. How do we like it for limited?
Seems great. I mean, it doesn't take very many spells. Like, first of all, you play one spell and you're already in a spot where this is giving you a 1 mana, like, which is fantastic.
For free.
And for free. And then, once you grow it, like, it just goes hard. I think that VV's really good. Like, okay. This is a builder on A, I think. I mean, if you play this, imagine you play this on turn 3, they don't kill it. Turn 4, you're like, play my 2 mana surveil 1 draw card spell. Now it's a 1/4, add a mana, play a 3-drop that pumps it. Next turn you have 6 mana. You just go completely nuts.
Okay. I would say build around like B plus, because I think the mana part probably wears out fairly quickly as far like how much you can spend.
Ways to spend your mana though. Is this
Are there? I guess if you're flashing stuff back, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a dumb creature on the ground, right? It's like.
Wow. I mean, to some degree,
if you trigger it 3 times, it's a 3/6. It's like, wow. 3/6.
But it's a 3/6 at a time when that's probably the biggest creature on the board in a lot of cases.
Like, yeah, I just don't want to get up into the A range for a 3/6,
Yeah, I just think adding the mana and growing and it goes pretty hard, especially with card draw spells. Like, imagine you cast this, then you cast Combat Tutorial, and you just have now you have a 2/5, and then you add mana, and you're back up to 3 mana, and you cast another 3-drop. You just spent 6 mana on turn 4.
Yeah, I mean, I do like that. There's a lot to like there, but there's a lot of kind of wheels spinning, and it doesn't have flying or anything like that. I'd give it a build around B plus. I do think it's strong. I agree with you. I'm just not like, wow, you just win the game. I'm kind of like, well, I mean, if you have stuff that supports it, you're definitely getting a lot of triggers. What do you want to give it?
A bit on A. I think the card's quite strong. Also, if we're being realistic, it's probably worth enough that anyone's going to take it every time they see it. But
monetarily, yeah,
it doesn't factor into the grade. I know.
Yeah. Next is Tella, Great Sage. This is 3 blue-red for a 3/3 legendary human wizard at rare. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token. If 4 or more mana was spent to cast that spell, draw 2 cards. If 8 or more mana was spent to cast that spell, sacrifice Tella, and it deals that much damage to each opponent.
Yeah, this is definitely a card.
So you kind of, well, I don't know. You may not want to do the 8 mana thing, but that probably will almost never come up. But you're just spitting out 1/1s.
If it comes up, you're just nugging them for a ton of damage.
So you may just win the game anyway.
Yeah.
So if you cast 4 or more, you get the 1/1 and the 2 cards?
Oh yeah, you get both.
Wow. So this is one of those build arounds, but I mean, it just needs to live.
There's no blue-red deck in the history of this set that is not going to want this card. So
totally.
I would give it an A-. The biggest drawback with Tella is that you spend 5 on it and they kill it.
It's a 5 mana 3/3. It does suck as a creature, but who cares?
But if you're ever on tap with it, it's really good. And sometimes you'll play it on 6 or 7 mana, at least get a 1/1 out of it.
Yeah, and even then that's great. Yeah, I agree with you. So A or A- for Tella, but it will just get built around, but you do have to do the thing. Like, you can't just have like a 17 creature Tella deck, but you probably won't. Next is Unova, Ancient Calamity. This is 2 green-black for a 1/5 legendary alien at rare. It says at the beginning of each combat on your turn, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to Genova's power on up to 1 other target creature. That creature becomes a mutant in addition to its other types, and whenever a mutant you control dies during your turn, you draw cards equal to its power. Wow. So it just spits around +1/+1
like,
counters at the minimum.
Right. And even if you never get the last trigger with her seeing a mutant die, you play this, you immediately give a creature a +1/+1 counter. Maybe you get another one the next turn. Like that's pretty good. And it's not hard to imagine this thing going really hard. If you have like a way to sacrifice a creature, you'll just draw 3 cards or something, because it'll be +1/+1 plus whatever it originally was.
Right. And if you can pump up Genova, pump spell or get counters on it, then it just starts spewing around 2, 3, 4 counters on your other creatures. Yeah, I like it. I like B+ for Genova. Like that's a really solid card.
I like B+. It can get better than that. If you have good sacrifice cards, like Deadly Dispute in your deck or something, like now you can really go hard.
Engine too, yeah. Next is Joshua Phoenix's Dominant. This is 1 red/white for a 3/4 legendary human noble wizard at rare. It says when Joshua enters, discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. And it has an activated ability of 3 white/red, tap it, exile it, then return it to the battlefield, transformed under its owner's control at sorcery speed. It becomes Phoenix, Warden of Fire, which is a 4/4 flying lifelink legendary enchantment creature saga Phoenix. First 2 chapters out of 3 are, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. And it's doing the damage, right? So you get the lifelink hit there too. And then chapter 3 is return any number of target creature cards with total mana value 6 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Exile Phoenix, then return it to the battlefield front face up. So this one doesn't become a dragon. It becomes a Phoenix.
Yeah, this card is absurd.
God, these
3 mana,
are
3/4 Seasoned Pyromancer, minus the tokens, is already really good. Discard 2 cards, draw that many cards. And and it's a little different than Seasoned Pyro, but yes, the same thing. And then
it's and up then to it's better. You don't even have to.
Well, it's just different because So I don't know. I look at this and I'm just like, well, it feels like this card. It's pretty hard for this card not to be awesome. Like the front side is awesome, and then if you end up flipping it, you're going to get a ton of value. And if you could do all the chapters, like you're really not losing that game.
No, this is an amazing card. I would give it an A.
No, I actually did literally lose a game today where I flipped it, went through all the chapters, flipped it, went through all the chapters. But,
wow. Okay, your opponent did good. I would give Joshua an A.
Yeah, it's an A.
Next is Lightning Army of 1. This is 1 red/white for a 3/2 legendary human soldier at Mythic rare. It has First Strike, Trample, and Lifelink. And it has, whenever lightning deals combat damage to a player until your next turn, if a source would deal damage to that player or a permanent that player controls, it deals double that damage instead. And this is where First Strike really comes in handy. Yeah. God, that's crazy.
Yeah. If they don't block this, you get to First Strike and then make one of your other creatures deal double damage. It's pretty sweet.
You mean if they don't block it with something that has 3 toughness or more?
Yes. Yes.
God, dude, this thing's crazy. I mean, it's already so good, right? 3 mana, 3/2 First Strike, Trample, Lifelink is just a pain, like a must kill combat wise. But this thing gets so much better. All your other attackers will double their damage if this thing gets to hit. There are, I'm sure, some very tense moments with combat when you have lightning even on your side, because it is fragile at 2 toughness, where do you attack with all of them? Because if it all works out, you may just win the game on the spot. But if they go, okay, you've declared attackers, I'm going to kill lightning, it could be really bad for you. Like, your creatures could all get eaten or traded off or whatever. But whatever, I'm certainly willing to take all of that. Grading wise, A- for lightning. It's a 2 toughness creature.
A-. I mean, 3 mana, 3/2 First Strike, Trample, Lifelink is a lot, even without the extra ability.
Yeah, this is just crazy. So, A-.
And this goes pretty nuts with pump spells, either because you pump this to get it through, or you pump whatever's about to deal double damage and just kill them.
Right. A lot of timing stuff there. Make sure that you know your combat steps when you're dealing with lightning. Next is the Wandering Minstrel. This is, I had this one a couple times. This guy's great. This is blue-green for a 1/3 legendary human bard at rare. Lands you control enter untapped, so your towns are untapped. It's nice. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control 5 or more towns, You get a 2/2 elemental creature token that is all colors. And then if you want to finish the game off, you can pay 3 and Wooburg, so 1 of each color plus 3, 8 mana total for other creatures you control get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of towns you control. I like this card.
It's no surprise to me that this is a card that you've already played with and used.
Yeah.
But I had this in a deck and I never drew it, so I don't really know. But it looks good. It looks exactly like what the town decks want.
It is. Yeah, it's great. It helps stabilize you. It comes down on 2. Then you can, that turns 3 and 4 is when you kind of can ramp out using the 2 and a green or, common, or the 3 and a green uncommon, and kind of get your towns under you. And then they have to kill it. I mean, this thing just spits out a creature every combat, including the turn that you cast it if you already happen to have the towns in and you play this a little bit later in the game. I like
you're
B+.
giving everything at least +5/+5.
Yes.
When you activate it.
That's right.
Assuming you've made a bunch of creatures. Obviously, sometimes you'll have 3 towns and not make any creatures, but if you're making elementals, which is when the other ability is at its best, yeah, you can really get there.
Yeah, this is a very powerful card that is a must deal with in a deck that is already ramping and casting multiple colors and doing really crazy stuff in the late game. So this is where it's like you're putting a lot of pressure on your opponent, where they're like, hey, you better kill the Wandering Minstrel. Hey, look, now my blah, blah, blah gets to stick and I win the game with that instead. I like B+ for the Wandering Minstrel.
Yeah, build around B+, yeah.
Build around B+, town build around. Next is Noctis, Prince of Lucis. This is 1 white, blue, black for a 4/3 legendary human noble at rare. It's got lifelink, and it says you may cast artifact spells from your graveyard by paying 3 life in addition to paying their other costs. If you cast a spell this way, that artifact enters with a finality counter on it. That's a great card. I mean, I guess it's like, are you splashing it in your blue-white deck? Can you make the mana work? Because if you can, then yes, you want Noctis. I mean, a 4/3 lifelink with that extra ability is really, really nice.
Yeah, I suspect this is, if you're in blue-white already and you see this, it's worth trying to make it work, because 4/3 lifelink is really nice, and then it does let you kind of accumulate value over time as you play it. So it looks like a build around B to me. The main cost is the 3 colors, but 2 of the colors, if you're blue-white, you presumably have enough artifacts to make this work. And I think you could definitely make an Esper deck work. So I like build around B for Noctis. Yeah.
Next is Kefka Court Mage. This is 2 blue, black, red for a 4/5 legendary human wizard at Mythic rare. It says, whenever Kefka enters or attacks, each player discards a card. Then you draw a card for each card type among cards discarded this way.
So the floor is 1. You could both discard a land and you draw 1 card.
I see.
But most of the time you're going to draw 2. And sometimes you'll discard like that 0/4 alien that's a flying artifact, like an artifact creature. You get 2. They discarded a land. Like boom. You're in the money right there.
Okay. So, and this counts everything on that first line, artifact, land, creature, that type of thing. Okay. And then you can pay 8 mana and have each opponent sacrifice a permanent of their choice. Then you transform Kefka at sorcery speed, and it becomes Kefka, Ruler of Ruin, which is a 5/7 flying legendary avatar wizard that says whenever an opponent loses life during your turn, you draw that many cards?
Yeah, you hit them for 5 and draw 5?
They die first, right?
Well, yes. If
you know what I mean? Like you can't, like if they go to 0, you're not getting
You don't deck yourself. Yeah.
Okay. So this is great. Though, again, we're kind of faced with a little bit of an awkward mana situation here, potentially. Like, is Grixis supported in this set?
Well, it's supported in the sense that there's all these towns. Yeah, like I think it's just not going to be that difficult to end up, being able to cast some of these cards.
Okay. I mean, if that's the case, I'm in. I mean, this is just a value machine.
Yeah.
The interesting part about the activated ability on the 8, each opponent sacrifices a permanent of their choice. So they just sack a land, right? Like they're just like, sure. Like it's a little bit of a throw in, right? But then of course you get this big flyer that ends the game. I think with mana cost considerations, I think I would say B plus for Kefka Court Mage.
B plus, again, it's not free. Even if there is ample fixing, it doesn't mean like there's no cost to it. You're spending draft picks on it. You're ending up in a spot where you're playing more tap lands, or sometimes you'll draw this being able to cast it. But it's worth it. I think like a good fit would be like in like a Dimir control deck that has a couple ways to cast this. I think I'd be totally happy trying to get this going.
All right, next up is Choco, Seeker of Paradise. This is 1 green, white, blue for a 3/5 legendary bird at rare. It says, whenever one or more birds you control attack, look at that many cards from the top of your library. You may put one of them into your hand, then put any number of land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest in your graveyard. And it has landfall. It gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Which, that's what I was complaining about the other one, because even this legendary one gets the stupid landfall ability. Great. I mean, you know, these ones, all these cards have kind of been like, yeah, I want it, but these are supposed to be in 2-color decks, and they're asking us to splash a 3rd color for a very powerful effect. Generally speaking, yeah, I'm willing to do the work. And this is a card that will pay you back. Play this, attack with a couple of birds, triggers, get lands, get stuff in your hand. You get one of them just no matter what, and then any lands go in as well. I guess you could deck yourself at some point, but you're going to win the game before that happens. Also, the landfall stuff, triggers, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I mean, it's the same thing as we said about the prior two. Yes, I want to play this card. The only restriction is, I should say, I want to play this card in the birds deck. The only restriction is, can I cast it?
Yeah, I think that if you can manage, it's very good. I've seen this card in drafts a bunch, never pulled the trigger and taken it, even when I was 2 of the colors.
Me too.
But I think that if you had more of a Chocobo start, I could see getting pulled into it more. This looks like a build around B, which is to say it's not really worth stretching your mana for it most of the time. Mm-hmm. But if you can get away with it, it is pretty good, especially if you have birds where you can have the expectation of playing this and immediately attack with a bird. That's like where the real money is.
Next up is Sin, Spira's Punishment. This is 4 black, green, blue. Please be good. I haven't seen this yet. It's a 7/7. It is sweet. 7/7 flying legendary Leviathan avatar. Flying Leviathan. Okay. Whenever Sin enters or attacks, exile a permanent card from your graveyard at random, then create a tap token that's a copy of that card. If the exiled card is a land card, repeat this process. Does that mean repeat it and you get 2 lands, or do the whole thing again?
No, you end on a non-land.
Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, I told you.
Yeah. This is what I want to do in my Towns deck to finish off the game. Woo. Yeah. This one's, in fact, maybe a little more interesting than the others because it doesn't go in just some specific deck. This is just can I make this much mana and cast it? Yeah, the Towns and or ramp deck is a natural fit for a 7-drop.
Right.
So that's kind of where it would want to go. But like, it's not as specific as Choco or the Artifact guy or whatever, where those like need to be built around.
A 4-mana 3-colored card loses a lot of value and you can't play it until turn 7. Sin, you just expect to play it on turn 7, and it has a bigger effect as a result. So that's why it's better to splash cards like that. I think that its best fit is probably just black, green, splashing blue, but you could definitely play this in like a blue-black deck that just has a couple tap lands that provide green or whatever. Yeah,
or the blue-green Towns deck often has all different types of mana available, so you could come up with the black, and it has some good ramp there too. Yeah, I like B+ for Sin. Look, it is 7 mana, but this does seem like the type of card that will... like that when you play it, the game swings in your favor and gets much better from there because it is enters or attacks for Sin.
I would say build around like A. Just
you want to give it the build around? Okay.
I mean, it's a 7-mana 3-color card. Like you just have to try to build so that you can cast this card. But sure. I think once you do, then yeah, you're definitely getting there.
Finisher. All right. Colorless cards. These ones are artifacts. This is Excalibur 2, which is 1 mana for a legendary artifact equipment at rare. It says, whenever you gain life, put a charge counter on Excalibur 2. And it says, equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on Excalibur 2, and the equip cost is 3.
No,
Nope.
I don't think there's enough life gain to really make this work. And
No way.
you'd have to gain life 3 times before this is even starting to be good.
Yeah,
Looks like an F to me.
that's an F.
You needed to give like +5/+5 before you really feel happy about the whole thing.
Terrible. Next is Buster Sword. This is 3 mana for an artifact equipment. It's a mythic. Equipped creature gets +3/+2, and the equip cost is 2. And it says whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to that damage without paying its mana cost. So that's however much damage got through to the opponent.
Yeah, it doesn't give trample or anything like that, but this still looks pretty good to me because
it does to me too.
3 mana to cast, 2 to equip, +3/+2 is not crazy bad. And if you hit them, it's really good.
Really good.
You get to draw a card and it's like you draw a card and a Black Lotus kind of.
Yeah, sure. I'm in. B+ for Buster Sword.
Yeah, I like B+.
Doesn't have to be an A.
One of the metrics I use for a lot of these cards is if my opponent has this in play, how do I feel nervous? Do I feel like I need to, really need? It's like Dothi Voidwalker in Cube.
Yes.
Whenever they have a Dothi Voidwalker out, you're like, man, this is tough. I need to. If I don't get rid of that thing, things could go really badly. And Buster Sword is going to feel like that. They're going to play this card, maybe play equip, and you like trade or trump. But then you're looking at that, you're like, yeah, if that thing ever hits me, it's bad times.
It's really bad times. Next is the Masamune, which is 3 mana for a legendary artifact equipment at rare. And it says, as long as equipped creature is attacking, it has first strike and must be blocked if able. And equipped creature has, if this creature dying causes a triggered ability of this creature or an emblem.
If a creature dying. Not this creature.
If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of this creature or an emblem you own to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time, and the equip cost is 2. But it only gives first strike and must be blocked. It doesn't give power, toughness, or anything like that.
Yeah, I lost really badly the only time I've seen this because they had an opportunity to play this, put it on a 3/3, and I had to block with my 3/3. And it really did not work out well for me.
Yeah, because this is a type of card that won't trigger that often, the bottom part. So you would be tempted to just ignore it, but that's the whole point. You can't.
Yeah, so
God, is it good though? It has to be. So if the creature's not attacking, nothing happens outside of the static?
Yeah, that's true.
I've played against it too, and it was really annoying.
Yeah, it was better than I thought on first read. I'm like, oh, that's 5 mana total to equip and no stats. Yeah, okay. And then they just like trounced me with it. Like, oh, yeah, I guess it was pretty good.
It does leverage your opponent's removal spells against you.
Yeah, but it has kind of haste because you can play an equip. So if you can get that first card, then you're just not going to feel bad about the whatever happens afterwards.
I want to go C+ on the Masamune.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think it is.
Just doesn't do much on defense. Next is the Regalia. This is 4 mana for a 4/4 legendary artifact vehicle. God, it's just straight up a car. It's rare. I mean, that is just
a car with just 4 dudes going on a road trip.
That is literally just like a car going through the desert, like on the way to Vegas.
Me, you, Paul, and Jeff. Just
all piled into the car. It's a rare. It has haste. Crew 1. And it says, whenever the Regalia attacks, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a land card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Yeah, I mean, that's actually pretty good. Yeah. We've been talking about how they kind of fixed the equipment in this set with giving you a 1/1, basically make it into a not equipment, into a creature. But this is what they need to do. This is unfortunately what they need to do for vehicles, is to push them this far before we'll play them. But I'll play this.
Definitely.
Yeah, it hits hard, gets you a land every time. Crew 1.
Looks like a B+ to me.
B+ for the Regalia. Next is Genji Glove, which is 5 mana for an artifact equipment at rare. It says equipped creature has double strike. Whenever equipped creature attacks, if it's the first combat phase of the turn, untap it. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase, and the equip cost is 3.
This looks like an F. I'm not going to pay 8 mana for this.
8 mana and no stats.
It's just too much. Like,
yeah,
if you have a 4/4 flyer, you can hit them for 16 if they're tapped out and there aren't any flyers. But like, that's just not.
Nah.
Don't
get seduced by those times when you get a random theft of a game that you wouldn't normally have won. Think about this in terms of like overall. F for Genji Glove. Next is Ultima Origin of Oblivion. This is 5 mana for a 4/4 legendary creature god. It's rare. It has flying, and it says whenever Ultima attacks, put a blight counter on target land. For as long as that land has a blight counter on it, it loses all land types and abilities and has tap, add a colorless. Whenever you tap a land for a colorless, add an additional colorless. And this is not enters or attacks. This is only attacks.
It's mostly just a 5 mana 4/4 flying, which is fine. You know, that's not the worst thing in the world.
Can turbo up your mana a little bit.
Yeah, you're often going to want to target yourself, you know, so that you can have your land start tapping for 2 mana.
Because this is too late to try to attack your opponent's mana in a meaningful way.
Yeah, it's not going to work. So I don't think you're ever targeting.
So like C plus? I mean, is this a B?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not a B. It's just okay.
C plus for Ultima. Next is A tier and Privin. Is it Prywin? I don't know.
Prywin? I don't know.
It's 6 mana for a legendary artifact equipment. It is mythic rare. And it says, so first off, it's 6 mana and the equip cost is 5. So what does it do? Equip creature has base power and toughness XX, where X is your life total. This is one where they could have made it 999.
Yeah. Equip creature has plus 999, plus 999. Yeah, right. It's enough. It's just too expensive.
11 mana.
I wouldn't even try to use this with like the equip for cheap or free sort of deals. I just don't think that's what you want to do.
Next is Summon Bahamut. This is 9 mana for a 9/9 flying enchantment creature, Saga Dragon. It's mythic rare, and it has 4 chapters. First 2 chapters are destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. Wow. Chapter 3 is draw 2 cards, and chapter 4 is this creature deals damage equal to the total mana value of other permanents you control to each opponent. As if you haven't won already by blowing up their 2 best things and attacking a couple of times with your 9/9 flyer. Like, that's the kind of joke, is that chapters 3 and 4 are more, they could just be blank and you'd probably be fine, but whatever. You cannot lose the game if this thing survives. That's kind of the bottom line.
Yeah.
It's 9.
I would still say this is a build around A, probably A minus, just because if you can just mega ramp, it's going to win you the game. And I think this is a format that does lend itself to that.
I do too. I like build around A minus for Summon Bahamut. That is an amazing Magic card. It's just 9 mana. So you have to be willing to make that happen. All right. Next is Ishgard, the Holy Sea. This is a land town at rare, and it is a adventure land. There are 5 of these. This is the white one. So it enters tapped and taps for white. They all have that same text where they ETB tapped and tap for their color, but they all each have a adventure. This one is called Faith and Grief. It is a 3 white sorcery adventure that says return up to 2 target artifact and or enchantment cards from your graveyard to your hand, and then exile this card. You may play the land later from exile. So you play these early if you just are going to miss a land drop, but otherwise you'd much rather wait for the adventure when possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to get a 2-for-1, but if you just have to play it as a land if it's in your opening hand, and you have 2 or 3 lands total.
Yeah. So what do you think about Ishgard getting 2 things back? That's pretty nice in the late game.
Yeah, this is kind of what you want out of this sort of card. It refills you in the late game, but you're not paying the opportunity cost of like 5 mana, get 2 things back, no other text, which would be, quite a bit worse.
Too slow. Yeah. C plus for Ishgard? Are these better than that?
I just like B. It's really nice to just have a land that can draw you 2 cards.
Okay. Even if it's clunky. It is a tall order to cast Faith and Grief in a game of Magic these days. Like, that is just a cost.
You pay.
I know it's free. Yeah.
Basically no cost to include it.
to include it. It's just, I would guess that your chances of winning any game that you cast Faith and Grief go down upon casting it.
Yeah.
Again, it's free, so we'll take it. But that is just a very small.
I wouldn't say go down upon casting it. I think more like any game where you cast it, you're not doing great. Is I guess a way of saying it.
Fair enough.
The method of casting it doesn't change that. But yes, I agree with what you're saying.
Jidor Aristocratic Capital is the blue one, and its adventure is called Overture. It's a sorcery for 4 blue that says target opponent mills half their library rounded down. Is that one low enough that we can? I mean, you're getting it for free-ish still, but it just doesn't.
This one I don't like.
Do anything?
Unless you have other mill cards, like sure, you milled them from 18 to 9. What did that do? It did nothing. You know?
Right.
You milled them from 6 to 3. Maybe that did something, but they're already at 6. So like this side looks like a D. If I had mill cards, maybe I would play it. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think this one you could definitely argue that if towns didn't matter to you, that an island would just be better, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point though. If you do have towns as a theme, this is totally a fine card to play as just an additional town. So it's more like a C. That's
C because it's a town. Yeah. Next is Midgar City of Mako. This is the black one, and it has Reactor Raid, which is 2 and a black for a sorcery adventure. It says you may sacrifice an artifact or creature. If you do, draw 2 cards. Sorcery speed. Sure.
I mean, this is again a good gas card in the late game. And you have to play a tapped swamp in order to get access to it. So it looks like a B to me. I just really like cards that give you.
I like this one.
This such flexibility.
Yeah, because this is one that you can play late, sacrifice something that you don't need anymore, and still cast spells after it too, because it's only 3. I like that. B for Midgar. Next is Lindblom Industrial Regency. This is the red one. The adventure is an instant this time rather than a sorcery. It's called Mage Siege. It's 2 and a red. And it says create a 0/1 black wizard creature token with the text that we know it has about pinging them. I really like that one too. That's a B for me.
Yep.
Instant speed. Yes, it's still low impact, but like that is free-ish, and that's nice. Last one is called Zenarkand.
Ancient Metropolis.
What does it do?
Lasting Faith is 4 green sorcery. Make a 1/1 hero, then put a +1/+1 counter for each land you control, and then you play it later. I mean, this is like
that's
a
great.
6 mana 7/7 or 8/8.
That's a real
then
card.
You play it as a land. Yeah, for sure.
I guess I would probably still say B for Zenarkand, but like this one would be I like these last 3 a lot. This one could even be a B+. Land early, spell late, but it affects the board like it's actually a real thing. So B+ for Zenarkand. Next is Balamb Garden Seed. Is it Seed or Seedy? I don't even know. Seed Academy. This is another town. This one enters tapped and taps for blue or green. It's rare. And you can pay 5 blue-green and tap it to transform it. And this ability costs 1 less for each town you control. And if you transform it, it becomes Balamb Garden Airborne, which is a 5/4 legendary artifact vehicle with flying, crew 1, and whenever it attacks, you draw a card. That is
this card's awesome.
That is amazing.
I mean, it's a blue-green town. Like, that's already really good for the blue-green town deck. And at some point, this just becomes a 5/4 flyer that draws a card. I like A- for a Balamb Garden.
I do too.
It's just been awesome. Like, I've had it in one deck and I played against it once, and both times it was like, oof. I mean, it also, unlike the adventure lands, you just play this, get all the use of a land, and then later turn it into a card. It's like the best of all worlds.
And it's a duel. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also a town. Yeah. And also it's not sorcery speed to transform it.
Yeah.
So
you get to end of their turn, you just get to fire it off.
That's really cool. Okay, a few more lands here. 2 more lands here, I should say. Clive's Hideaway is a land town. It's rare. It has Hideaway 4. It says when this land enters, look at the top 4 cards of your library, exile 1 face down, and put the rest on the bottom in a random order. The land itself is a town. It taps for colorless, and you can pay 2 and tap it to play the exiled card without paying its mana cost if you control 4 or more. And I know you think I'm going to say towns. No, not towns. Legendary creatures.
So This is a D, and that does incorporate the fact that it's a town because it's a colorless town, which I haven't found.
Yeah,
I want the colorless towns in my town decks.
No,
Like
they're a big
I'm trying to
cost.
play 3, 4, 5 colors. Like a colorless
Same.
land's way too bad. So I'd give this a D, and if you really needed a town, you could play it, but you should hopefully can do better.
Yeah, and keeping 4 legendary creatures on the board, even with how many there are, is going to be very difficult.
Yeah,
Next is
not a gimme.
Not a gimme. Last regular card is Starting Town. This is a land town at rare. It says it enters tapped unless it's your first, second, or third turn of the game. So early game, it's untapped. It taps for colorless, or you can tap it and pay a life to add 1 mana of any color. You would just put this in a town's deck, right? Like all day long.
Put this in any deck I ever drafted.
Oh, really?
It's a dual land.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's a dual land
sure,
for 1 life. I mean, that matters. Like,
yeah, but like, what are the circumstances where you're paying the life? It's because you need that color. If you don't, you just tap it for a colorless.
yeah, I guess, I mean, like, I'd
Unquestionably, you should
rather
play
just
this
have an on-color town, though, right? I mean,
Well, sure, but
or would you? I mean, this is
I don't even know if
untapped in
that's
the
true.
early
It's untapped.
stages. I don't know.
your black red deck would definitely rather have this than a tapped red black land. So would your like blue white Magitech army deck.
I don't know. I don't run by the pay 1 life. Like, it does matter. I agree with the other stuff.
It's not
you're
nothing, but an untapped land that taps for any color is really strong. I think that Starting Town is a B, and I would just treat it as if it was like a duel for your colors, and that's good.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I would go B- on it. Like, I'm good on, I agree with the stuff you said, but I'm a little concerned about the pay 1 life. Okay, that's it for the regular cards. Now, we're going to move a little more swiftly through the bonus cards. They do show up often, so they do matter, but they're also all reprints. So these are cards that
we're on to the fan forum proxy portion of the show.
So yeah, these are, we have officially departed the realm of regular Magic cards. So this first one is Hero of Light, otherwise known as Adeline Resplendent Cathar. It's 1 white for a star 4 legendary human knight with vigilance, and its powers equal the number of creatures you control and whenever you attack. For each opponent, you make a 1/1 white human creature token that's tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. This card's great.
Adeline's an A-. It's frequently like a 5/4 that's made multiple creatures. It's a really fantastic
Don't
card.
sleep on it. It's amazing. Next is Knights of Sandoria, which is Ranger Captain of Eos. As the reprint, it's 1 white for a creature, human, soldier, ranger. It's a 3/3 for 3. And when it enters, you may search your library for a creature card with mana value 1 or less, reveal it, put it in your hand, and then shuffle. And then if you want, you can sacrifice Knights of Sandoria to have your opponents not be able to cast non-creature spells this turn. That comes up infrequently, but it is a high leverage play when it goes. But generally, this is a 3 mana 3/3 that digs you up a 1-drop. And if you have a target for it or 2 targets for it, this card's excellent. Even if you don't, it's fine.
Yeah, and sometimes, you play against someone who has a Wrath and you're winning by a lot on their upkeep when you're already like very far ahead. You can just sack this and they can't cast Wrath that turn.
Yeah, or removal or card draw. Yeah, so you can kind of get them. I would say B+ if you have a 1-drop to get with it, and B- if you don't.
I think if you don't have a 1-drop in your deck, this card is like a D.
3 mana 3/3 with that ability.
But really hard to cast 3 mana 3/3 compared to most.
Yeah, that's true. So. Okay, so D+ or something, yeah. But put a 1-drop in your deck, and all of a sudden this card's really great. Next is Furion Swordmaster, otherwise known as SRAM Senior Edificer. This is 1 white for a legendary Dwarf Advisor. It's a 2/2, and whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, you draw a card. Yeah, man.
I think SRAM's an A- in this set. You can just make this a card drawing machine if you draft it.
Crazy, and it comes down on 2 easy mode, and then you follow it up with the job select, and you're just off to the races. A- for Furion. Next is Wild Rose Rebellion, which is counter spell. You may have heard of it. Blue instant counter target spell.
So it is hard to cast, but it does cost 2 mana. That is pretty relevant. I would give this a B and just say you got to be a heavy blue deck, but it is good in that deck.
It is good in the heavy blue deck. Next is Tara Branford, otherwise known as Urza Lord High Artificer. our boy. This is 2 blue for a legendary human artificer. It's a 1/4, and when it enters, you get a 0/0 colorless construct. With this token gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control, so it's a 1/1 at least. You can tap an untapped artifact you control to add blue, and you can pay 5 mana to shuffle your library, then exile the top card until end of turn. You may play that card without paying its mana cost. One of my favorite cards ever. Cube All-Star, such a cool, good, powerful card. You get a 1/4 and a 1/1 at least, and then it just goes off from there.
In the blue-white artifact deck, this is like an A to A plus.
Yes.
I mean, if you cast this and you have not only a 4/4 construct, but all of a sudden you're like instant ramen and all your stuff's just tapping for mana. Your equipment, like your job select equipment still taps for mana while the creature's just chilling there. Like, that's awesome.
Crazy.
If you open this and you're like blue-black and you have no artifacts or whatever, just take it anyway. It's like a B plus probably.
Yeah.
Like 4 mana, 1/4 plus a 1/1 that you pay 5 to not only draw a card, but the mana to cast that card. Like that is what you want, you know?
It is stupid. It's such a good card. Next is Master Zandy, which is Venser Shaper Savant. Ugh. 2 blue for a 2/2 flash legendary human wizard. When it ETBs, return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. I said that that Tara Branford / Urza was one of my favorite cards. This is like shortlist one of my favorite cards ever. Venser is.
I love Venser. One of my longest running D&D characters was called Venser.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, this is in some ways kind of the ultimate mana war. They tacked an extra blue mana on it, but for that you get flash and the ability to flash.
Mana warrior spells.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. I love this card. It messes with combat super hard. It kills tokens that have been equipped up. This is, I think that Master Zandy is going to be like a B plus probably in the format, maybe a B, like somewhere right in that range. What do you think?
I think B plus, the flexibility is just off the charts with this card. There's a reason this card saw a lot of constructed play.
Cube.
It really does, kind of get the job done just because it always works. And that's a pretty huge thing. Yeah, I like B plus. I was just thinking if it was like an A minus, but I don't think it is. I don't think we're quite there.
Next is Kefka's Tower. This is Bolas's Citadel. So it's 3 black for a legendary artifact that says you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play land cards and cast spells from the top of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. And the big finisher is you can tap it and sacrifice 10 non-land permanents to do 10, or have each opponent lose 10 life.
So the hard part of the Citadel is like you need to get to 3 black and 3 and have a reasonable life total. It is very powerful once you do, and so like there are some matchups where I bet this card is awesome, but I don't think
I don't think non-believer.
I don't think this is going to be good. I think it's a D, though. If you have the next card here, I would consider it.
Yeah, Darkness of Eternity is Dark Ritual. So black for an instant that adds 3 black mana to your mana pool. Is this good in limited? That turbo is extremely powerful, borderline broken, but it's narrow and like if they just kill your thing.
So we haven't really seen this in limited since like Urza Saga, and it did have some applications there for sure. But I'm loath to include this one without having played with it. I think the potential is good. I mean, I bet it's probably good. Like, just think of modern limited. Think of casting a 6-drop on turn 4 or a 4-drop on turn 2. Like, is that worth a card? Probably.
It might be.
That said, if you draft Dark Ritual and want to play it, you really do need to kind of put cards in your deck that are really good to ritual out. I don't want you ritual out like Shinra Reinforcements, the 2/3 that mills 3 on turn 1, that you're just putting yourself down a card. You're not going to win that game.
Right.
Use this to ritual out, the 8-drop that summons demons, or the Sin, the 7-mana 7/7. Like, now you're talking.
You might just run away with that game.
What I would look for when you draft Dark Ritual, exactly the same as you look for in Cube, is cards that turn over turn provide a significant advantage or really threaten your opponent, such that you'd waste a card, you'd burn a card to get them out 2 turns earlier. So I'm looking for like really high impact 5 and 6 drops, I think is kind of like the sweet spot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would be skeptical
so it's like a build
of
around
it.
B.
Yeah, build around B. We'll go build around B for Dark Ritual. Next is Battle at the Big Bridge, which is Fatal Push. It's black for an instant destroy target creature if it has a mana value 2 or less, but it has Revolt that you can destroy a creature with mana value 4 or less if a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn. That's anything leaving the battlefield for any reason. It's a good removal spell.
I mean, I think it's a really good removal spell. I'd honestly give this an A-, in the kind of in the same vein as like Murderous Cut, where like it can kill anything in the early game really efficiently, but it also kills stuff up to the mid game. Like, on turn 4, you trade your 3-drop for theirs and you Fatal Push their 4-drop. Like that's a really good turn.
And as we've put stuff on the scale that we use and talked about how tempo is so important these days, this plays right into it. I agree with you. A- for Fatal Push. That is ultra efficient removal. Next is Golbez Clad in Darkness, which is Sir Conrad the Grim. This is 3 black for a legendary human knight. It's a 5/4 that says whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Golbez deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you can pay 1 and a black to mill each player for 1.
I mean, Sir Conrad was just always such a beating. I would be very happy with this card. I think it's still just like an A-. Like if this card is in play, your opponent is kind of on notice. Like it's really hard for them to win the game.
Yeah,
with this out. Like they just die so quickly. Like,
this is arguably
there's games
Mythic
where you
uncommon.
Play this attack with a couple creatures and it's just like, oh my God, what am I going to do now?
Right. And if they start activating it because you're at the board stall, you fall behind that way too. So B+, A- for Golbez. Next is the Emperor Hell Tyrant. This is Yawgmoth Thran Physician. So this is 2 black for a legendary human cleric. It's a 2/4 with protection from humans. And there are actually a lot of humans in the set. And you can pay a life and sacrifice another creature to put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 other target creature and draw a card. And you can pay double black and discard a card to proliferate, which allows you to add an additional counter on any number of permanents or players that already have a counter of that type.
I think Yawgmoth's like an A+. It asks you to have creatures in play, so maybe that limits it down to an A. I could buy that, but first of all, it has protection from humans, which is not nothing. There are actually a lot of humans in the set, but also it makes it all your creatures not only cash in for a card, they also get to take out your opponent's creatures. The proliferate's very relevant. You draw a bunch of cards. Like there's really nothing bad to be said about this card.
No, I'm with you.
It kind of does everything you want.
I like A+ for the Emperor Hell Tyrant. Next is Dragon of Mount Gulg. This is Ancient Copper Dragon. What is that one? That's a 4
That's
red.
From the AFR.
Oh, okay. 4 red for a 6/5 Elder Dragon with flying. And it says, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, roll a d20. You create a number of treasure tokens equal to the result. I remember that one.
Yeah, this is
fine.
It's like a C. It's a big flyer, like a C+.
C+.
Like hitting them and making treasures is really not that relevant.
It's just a big, nice flyer. But I mean, these play out poorly, generally speaking. It's still powerful enough to make it into your deck if you're green, red, or whatever. But yeah, C+ for Dragon of Mount Gulg. Next is Gilgamesh Weapon Collector. This is 5 and a red for Godo Bandit Warlord is what it was before. So this is 5 and a red for a 3/3 legendary human barbarian. And when it enters, you may search your library for an equipment card, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. And whenever it attacks for the first time each turn, untap it. And all samurai you control. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Well, that seems excellent in this set.
Yeah, I mean, going to get any equipment and then put it on the battlefield is just awesome. Like you get so much value from this. Again,
the translation that we're doing, not all equipment has a job, whatever, but
job select,
but many of them do. So this is the equivalent in this set of go get a creature and put it onto the battlefield. It's just like when you upgrade it to that, it's like, wow, like that's excellent. I would give A- to Gilgamesh Weapon Collector.
Yeah. I like A- here.
Next is Kefka Palazzo. This is Perforos, God of the Forge. So this is 3 in a red for a legendary enchantment creature god. It's a 6/5 with indestructible, but as long as your devotion to red is less than 5, it isn't a creature. So it's just an enchantment. And it says whenever another creature you control enters, this thing does 2 damage to each opponent, and you can pay 2 in a red to have creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. How did this play out in limited? It was just medium, right?
Yeah, it wasn't that good. And this is a long time ago when there was less pressure to get on the board quite as quickly and the creatures were smaller. So I think Perforos is kind of like a D.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't really think you're going to get good value out of this card is my guess. It's mostly not going to be a creature, so it's an enchantment that does ping them whenever you play a creature, but you've spent 4 mana for this?
Yeah, it pings them for 2. You would combo off with this by being heavy red and having a token sub theme, and I don't know if either of those are really going to come in here.
Yeah.
I like D for Kefka Plot. So next is Princess Sarah. This is, which was Azusa, Lost at Seeking. Nice. 2 and a green for a legendary human monk. It's a 1/2 that says you can play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. This generally doesn't play out well in limited though, does it? Because you
run out of lands so quickly.
You just run out of lands so fast, and then you have a 1/2 left over.
And you're left with like not much after all that.
Yeah. So I would say,
I think probably F. I don't know. Maybe
I would just
D.
play F. I would not play this card. Next is the Cloud Sea Djinn, which is Nyx Bloom Ancient. This is 4 green. So 7 mana for a 5/5 enchantment creature elemental with trample. And if you tap a permanent for mana, it produces 3 times as much mana instead.
Is an F. You can't pay 7 mana to then get more mana, so I don't like it.
And a 5/5 trample is not worth it for the 7. Next is Warrior of Light, which is Judah the Unifier. It costs Wooburg, so 1 of each color of mana. It's a legendary human wizard that's a 5/5. It says legendary creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of legendary creatures you control. And whenever you cast a legendary spell from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a legendary non-land card with a lesser mana value. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost, put the rest on the bottom in a random order. Dude, the casting cost is oppressive on Joda. Or excuse me, Warrior of Light, as it's called here. But there are enough legends to make, like, you could build around this if you could ever cast it. My guess
it's not impossible.
Is that you could cast it if you wanted to in this set. You know, if you're the hardcore towns deck, I do wonder if it'll actually come together where you have this, enough ways to fix your mana, and enough legendary creatures to make it all click. But if you do, you're going to have an absolutely amazing deck.
Probably like a build around B.
This is legit if you're doing the thing.
Yeah. I don't think it's implausible to think that a 5-color deck could make good use of this. So I sure know if my opponent played this, I would try to kill it.
For sure.
So
yeah, build around B, but the build around is very steep.
The most challenging part is making sure you can have a mana base that can play 5 colors, because once you do, picking up legends, I don't think is the hard part.
Right. Okay. Next up is Cecil Harvey, which is, what is it? Timna the Weaver? What is this? This is what is that from?
One of the commanders with partner and stuff.
Oh, okay. 1 black, white for a 2/2 legendary human cleric with lifelink. And at the beginning of your post-combat main phases, you may pay X life, where X is the number of opponents who were dealt combat damage this turn. If you do, draw X cards, and it does have partner, which is why I didn't know what it was.
Yeah. So 3 mana, 2/2 lifelink. That's okay. And if you hit them, you get to pay life to draw cards. Pay 1 life to draw 1 card, that is. I'm not a huge fan, but I think if you have a low curve black-white deck, I mean, imagine you play a 2-drop and they don't have a creature, and you play this on turn 3 attack and then draw a card. You're already kind of ahead there.
You are. Yeah. This actually gets into that C range for me. I think it's a C plus in black-white for Cecil Harvey. This is another one of those cards that just needs help to get through. And then, it starts to do the thing. But not great.
I like C plus for Cecil Harvey, and just draft a curve with good evasive creatures and cards that can realistically get through, so you can actually draw cards off this thing.
Next is Bart's Klausner, which is Winota, Joiner of Forces. This is 2 white red for a 4/4 legendary human warrior. It says whenever a non-human creature you control attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may put a human creature card from among them onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. It gains indestructible until end of turn. Put the rest of the cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. Now there's a lot of humans.
Yeah, there's a lot of humans and non-humans. I bet Winota or Bart's Klauser is pretty good here. So I would probably give it a B.
I do. And I think so too, with a slight build. It
honestly
around.
Could be better. If you get a good ratio of humans to non-humans, you could do some serious work here.
Next is Giant of Babel, which is Traxos, Scourge of Krug. This is 4 mana for a 7/7 legendary artifact construct with trample, but it enters tapped and doesn't untap during your untap steps, but whenever you cast a historic spell, you untap it. And that's legends, artifacts,
enchantments.
So like this will sagas too, right?
I kind of think Traxos / Giant of Babel here is like an A-.
You think so? It's just this set, it feels like it was made for... I bet
you cast this on turn 4, you attack on turn 5 most of the time.
I bet you do too.
And yeah, you would like to get more than 1 attack, but if you get 2 attacks, you don't need more than that. 2 attacks is plenty, like, to conclude most games one way or the other.
That's right. Yeah, I like B plus A- for Giant of Babel. I agree. This set feels like it's made for it. Next is Blessings of the Oracle, which is Akroma's Will. This is 3 and a white for an instant. Choose one. If you control a commander as you cast this spell, you may choose both. So choose one. Creatures you control gain flying, vigilance, and double strike until end of turn, or creatures you control gain lifelink, indestructible, and protection from each color until end of turn.
This card is absolutely outrageous. I think it's an A+.
Really?
I mean, did you read what it does? Either all your creatures gain flying and double strike, so they die. Like, you have a 5/5 and a 2/2, they're at 14, they're dead. Or all your creatures get lifelink and unblockable because it's pro every color. Like, what are
I just don't like the use case where you don't have very many creatures or have one or something like that.
Yeah, but this is like the best overrun they've ever made if you do.
Okay. I'm not giving it an A+. I mean, you have to have a board state, but...
You can give it an A then.
Can I go A-?
You could, but I think...
Do you think that's wrong?
Yeah, I think if you have this card, you should just try to draft a bunch of creatures and you'll win the game every time you cast it.
Okay,
I mean,
I'll go
you do
A
need some
then.
creatures, but I lost really badly to this the only time I played against it, and the time I had it, it also was just incredible. So
okay,
my experience so far is that if you can just have 3 creatures in play, you almost always win the game, and even with 2, sometimes it's good enough.
It might be good enough there too. Okay, yeah, that's a pretty low bar.
It also doesn't make you go all in. Your guys have vigilance, so they're around a block in the first mode, and they have lifelink in the second mode. So like you can set up a scenario where you don't quite kill them, but either have all your creatures back to block, or you've gained like 7 or 8 life or whatever it is.
You swung the race in a meaningful way.
Yeah, I think Chroma's Will / Blessing of the Oracle is just not a reasonable card. When they cast it against me and all their things got flying and life and double strike, I'm like, what? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that is crazy. All right, I'll go A on Blessing of the Oracle.
I accept.
Next is Squall Leonhart, which is Danitha Capuchin Paragon. This is 2 and a white for a 2/2 legendary human knight with first strike, vigilance, and lifelink, and aura. But equipment spells you do cast 1 less to cast. And this is an amazing creature to put equipment on.
Oh yeah. First strike, vigilance, lifelink. They do the thing. So
all you need is some power.
I like B+ for Squall here.
Squall B+. This does seem to fit into this set as well. Next is Noctis Lucis Calum, which is Kenrith the Return King. This is 4 and a white for a 5/5 legendary human noble, and it's got 5 activated abilities, 1 for each color. You can pay red to give all your creatures trample and haste until end of turn. You can pay red to do that, or 1 and a green to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature. 2 and a white to have target player gain 5 life, 3 and a blue to draw a card, target player draws a card, I should say, or 4 and a black, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under its owner's control. 5 mana, 5/5 with all the things. This
any
card
color
is
combination
a powerhouse, yeah.
Is going to be happy. I would say A-. The only thing stopping it is like it is a 5 mana creature that if you don't have mana left over, you're not going to do anything with right away. But like the card is really like it's hard to lose with Kenrith on the board. So I like A-.
Agreed. A- for Noctis
You could
Lucis.
just go A though. I don't know. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, there's no color combination white plus another one where it's bad. So that's pretty good too. Next is Garnet Till Alexandros 17th, which is Lauren of the third path. 2 and a white for a 2/1 legendary human artificer with vigilance. When it enters, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. And then you can tap it to have you and target opponent each draw a card. This seems great in this set.
For Lauren in this set. There's so many targets. Maybe just A, honestly.
I like A. This is a very solid 2
It's 3 mana 2/1
1
that's going to eat a real permanent against basically every single deck in the format. I don't think I've had a deck with no targets yet.
Yeah. A for
and
Garnet.
And then the each draw a card. Try to use that at the end of their turn so you get like the first crack at it. Or if you're behind on cards, it's not that good when you're ahead on cards.
Yeah, then you just want to sit pat. So A for Garnet Till. Next is Minwu Rebellion Strategist. This is 3, which used to be Mangara, the Diplomat. This is, 3 and a white for a 2/4 legendary human cleric with lifelink. And whenever opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you and or a planeswalker you control, draw a card. And whenever opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. People also, if you're playing in paper, they always forget, or maybe even on Arena, they forget about one or the other of these abilities, and you get free cards sometimes.
2/4 lifelink. It's kind of hard to attack past this thing.
Yeah.
It puts more constraints on them than you might think. I like B+ for Minwu.
I do too. That's a good card. Next is Memories of Nibelheim, which is Stroke of Midnight. This is 2 and a white for an instant destroy target non-land permanent. Its controller gets a 1/1 white human creature token. These generally underperform.
Yeah, but I kind of think this is a decent set for it.
I have gotten hit by it already, and I was like, that was actually pretty decent.
Yeah, I played this once, and it was totally fine. I splashed it in a Towns deck, because it's like, the Towns deck doesn't care about giving them a 1/1. So I think the less you care about the 1/1, obviously, the better this card gets. I would aim to play it in a deck with like either flyers or it's just really going over the top. The place not to play it is like red, white, or green, white, where a 1/1 actually can like block one of your like crappy 2/1s.
Right, so, for sure.
I would say in like splashed in the Towns deck or in like black, white, or in like blue, white, it's pretty good. And it's not that good in the other 2 decks I mentioned. So I would give it a C.
The C. Okay, I was going to give it a D still. I
think it's a C.
Okay. Let's see how it plays out. Next is the Imperial City of Arcades. This is Wall of Omen. So 1 and a white 0/4 wall with Defender. When it ATBs, you draw a card. Aggro decks generally don't like it, but everything else does.
I would give it a B.
I would give it a B.
It's just a very solid card.
Endwalker. This is Brainstorm. So it's blue for an instant, draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. You playing Brainstorm?
I would play it if I had some shuffle effects, which there really aren't many of. There's land cyclers. That's kind of nice. Or a deck that really wants like cantrips, like a spells type deck. But
do you consider it free to put Endwalker into a blue deck?
Pretty close to it, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got a lot of blue sources, then the opportunity cost of like casting a 1 mana spell is pretty low, even if ultimately it doesn't do that much.
Right. I would call this unexciting, but reasonable to play, and it does get a little more exciting if you can meet the criteria that Luis said. Yeah, C. It's a C,
but you can do some work and make it a C+. It's pretty good with like the Town Greeter, the 2 mana 1/1 that mills 4. Like, because you can Brainstorm to not only like it mills the top, so you get past those cards, you also put a land back, you won't miss. So
right. Okay, so C. The next is the Crystal Tower, which is Cryptic Command. Good God. 1 blue instant. If you've never seen this card, by the way, this is real. You get to choose 2 of the following 4 options. Counter target spell, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, tap all creatures your opponents control, draw a card. One of the most powerful instants we've ever had in the game. The only catch is that it is triple blue.
Yeah, still try to play this.
Same. You couldn't pay me to not play Cryptic Command.
The thing that's nice about this is by the time you can cast it, even if it's later than you might like, just tap their whole team, draw a card, or counter a spell, tap their whole team. Like a lot of tap their whole team really comes into play because that's the stage of the game where that can be really powerful. But it's just so flexible. Counter, draw, bounce, tap. Like, I mean, I've cast every mode, every combination of modes on this, probably like in the hundreds of times, is my guess. Like,
definitely.
I've cast Cryptic Command a lot. And yeah, it's a great card.
Yeah. The baseline is counter target spell, draw a card. That's kind of your straight up 2-for-1. Casting cost is a factor here. Triple blue is not free. You do need to work for this, but if you do, it's an A.
The thing is, by the time, again, I'm willing to wait for this one. This is one of the ones where like I don't mind it taking a little bit longer to cast than I would like. So yeah, I would give it an A. You just really try to have like 10, 11 blue sources if you can swing it.
Next is Vanadial Adventures, which is Laboratory Maniac. 2 and a blue, 2/2. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. Hard to imagine. There's some mill cards, but some of them only hit opponents.
F because I've decked myself multiple times in this format, but it's not very good.
I would give it an F. I am going to screenshot myself winning with this at some point, but I would also give it an F.
All right, that's fair.
Next is Stay With Me. This is Rhystic Study. So 2 and blue for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1.
Yeah,
it's interesting for limited.
I think it's very good though. I mean, yes, it sounds like, oh, I play this on turn 3. They have to play off curve all game, but like compare this to Stone Rain, 2 and a red, destroy a land. Like that card's really bad in limited.
It's really bad.
Yes. It's kind of like a Stone Rain. They can always choose not to pay if they really don't, if they really have to. And imagine drawing this card later.
Oh, it's so bad.
Like, just so bad.
It also gives your opponent too much agency.
Yeah, the one part where it's better than Stone Rain in a sense is when they were on a cast multiple spells a turn, because this triggers on every spell.
It can't add up.
You really just shouldn't play this card. I think it's an F.
See, the problem is that you play this card that does nothing, and then they go, okay, I'll slow down, but you can't punish them because you're not, like, this doesn't attack them or do anything on the board.
Yeah.
I would say F for Rhystic Study. Next is Idea Kramer. This is Teferi, Mage of Zalfir. Wow, they're just doing it all. 2 blue, blue,
Look at this
blue.
art. It just looks this.
It looks like a photo.
It looks like, well, it looks like the character from like Elder Scrolls or something, like, but like not in a good, this is good art way. Like,
weird. The artist is just Square Enix too. It's not, there's not even a person.
It just looks like a screenshot from a video game.
That must be what it is.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's no artist. So it's 2 blue, blue, blue for a 3/4 flash legendary human wizard. It says creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield have flash. So your creatures have flash, and each opponent can cast spells only anytime they could cast a sorcery. So they can't counter your stuff. And it's a 3/4 flash, so you get to flash it in and eat something in combat every once in a while too.
And they can't have a combat trick.
And they can't do anything about it. Yeah, once it resolves.
Yeah, I think Teferi is like a C. Like triple blue is a lot, and by the time you can cast it, it's not going to have like the massive effect in the game. There are some decks that really will struggle at having to play at sorcery speed, but I'm not.
Nah, I'm with you. See, I mean,
not really
an aggressive deck
much.
is like you're never casting that when it's relevant. Like you're not getting to triple blue on turn 5 very often.
Yeah.
Next is Baron Rivalry, which is Deadly Dispute. It's 1 and a black for an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature, draw 2 cards, and make a treasure token. Card was pretty good in its format, and there has been just enough stuff laying around that I could see this being, the first Deadly Dispute in your deck's actually pretty decent.
There are decks that would want that. I think black-white is the prime contender, but I could see it in black-green as well. And this is a pretty nice way to sacrifice stuff if you got things that you really want to sacrifice. So it's kind of neat. Plus, it's a good way to use the last chapter of a saga creature, which on Arena, you do have to hold control, like to go into full control.
It'll just sacrifice it after the trigger.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So if you go into full control, the 3rd chapter pops, and then in response, you sack it before it dies. And that's kind of nice. So I like C for Deadly Dispute.
Same.
It's a pretty reasonable card.
That's a playable card. Next is Shantado's Coercion. This is Diabolic Intent. This is 1 and a black for sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature, search your library for a card, put that card into your hand, and then shuffle. Nah.
F. Tutors aren't that good, and especially tutors that cost you to sack a creature. Are you kidding me? Get out of here.
The Shadow Lord is next. This is Gix Yawgmoth Praetor. This is 1 black for a 3/3 legendary Phyrexian Praetor. It says whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may pay 1 life. If they do, they draw a card. And then it has an activated ability for 4 black, discard X cards to exile the top X cards of target opponent's library. You may play lands and cast spells from among the cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs.
And this card is quite strong.
It's a very good card.
It's just a little bit like Timna the Weaver that we were talking about, where you feel like you hit them, you get to draw cards. Except A, it's a 3/3. B, it works for all your creatures, so like you can draw multiple cards. Mm-hmm. And C, the 7-mana ability really is no joke, especially if you've been fueled by drawing cards off them.
Yeah, I mean it's a must kill, and that on a 3 draw. I mean it's double black, so maybe it doesn't come down to 3 every turn, but every time. But oftentimes you want to curve out and then have this be the last thing down anyway, so you don't get punished that hard on it. I mean, I like B+, maybe A- for the Shadow Lord.
A-. I think Gix is really good.
It's really good.
Look, you do want to make sure that you draft a deck that's capable of curving out or having evasive creatures, but even when Gix gets stopped and you're now like, okay, you're not getting through. Well, the 7-mana ability then starts to come into play. So good when you get creatures through and good in a board stall. That's a pretty nice combination.
Next is Emmett Selch Askian. This is Keurig, son of Yawgmoth. This is 4 and 3 black, but they're the type of black, the Phyrexian mana where you can pay 2 life rather than the black mana. It's a 2/2, no joke. It's a legendary Phyrexian horror minion. It has lifelink, and for each black mana in a cost, you may pay 2 life rather than pay that mana, so it turns all your black mana into Phyrexian mana. And then whenever you cast a black spell, put a +1/+1 counter on this guy. Nah.
I don't think this card is good. I've had it played against me already. Every time it's been in a limited set, which is like multiple times at this point, it's been horrible. So
yeah, it's been
I'd
terrible.
give it an F. Just don't play this card.
You don't want to play 2 toughness creatures that cost you between 4 mana, 7 mana, and a bunch of life. Next is Arden Izunia, which is Varagoth Bloodsky Sire. This is 2 and a black for a 2/3 legendary demon rogue. It's got Death Touch and Boast. You can pay 1 and a black. Target player searches their library for a card, then shuffles and puts that card on top. What was Boast again?
If you attacked, you can activate it once.
Yeah.
So this card plays fine. This is from Kaldheim. My recollection was it's a 3-mana 2/3 Death Touch, and you didn't really get much mileage out of the ability because spending 2 and then having to wait a turn after you've already attacked is like, it's okay, it will happen, but mostly it's a 3-mana 2/3 Death Touch. It's like a C+.
C+ for Arden Izuna. Next is Vaughn Aspiring Sky Pirate. This is Captain Lannery Storm. So 2 and a red for a legendary human pirate. It's a 2/2 haste, and whenever it attacks, you create a treasure token, and whenever you sacrifice a treasure, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Good card.
Just one of the nice snowbally cards where if you can Thunder Magic, their 2-drop, play land, play this, hit, make a treasure, they play a creature, you kill it, attack, make another treasure, play then a 3-drop, you just get really far ahead. So Captain Lannery Storm can really get the job done. I would give it a B.
Yeah. B. Next is A Promise Fulfilled, which is Light Up the Stage. This is 2 and a red for a sorcery with Spectacle for red, so you can cast it for that if the opponent's lost life. And it says exile the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards.
This card is kind of hard to use. It can be good. It's pretty nice in the black-red deck where you have a bunch of the 0/1 mages. You just play a cheap spell, ping them, play this for 1 mana, ping them, fuel more spells. So I think it's probably a C. The more aggressive you are, the better it is.
Holy crap. They put Lightning Bolt in this set? Thrum of the Vestige. Yeah. Red for an instant. It does 3 damage to any target. That is Lightning Bolt.
It's classic. It's an A. Lightning Bolt's just too good. It's 1 mana.
Too good. It's just too good.
It's 1 mana. It hits anything.
A. Ultra efficient removal gets into the A category, and that counts. Next is Dawn Warrior's Legacy. This is Mizzix's Mastery. So 3 and a red sorcery, exile target a card that's an instant or sorcery from your graveyard. For each card exiled this way, copy it, and you may cast a copy without paying its mana cost. And then you exile Dawn Warrior's Legacy. The reason it has the funny wording is that it has overload for 5 red, which change which changes a card that's an instant to each card that's an instant or sorcery from your graveyard.
I think this card's kind of interesting because in the 4 mana blue-red deck, if you cast this on a 4-drop, then you get like multiple triggers because you cast this, then you cast that.
That's cool.
And if you get up to 8 mana and cast like 3 or 4 spells, maybe more off it, I feel like this is a build around B where if you have like a really heavy spell deck, this could be like a kind of nice way to finish the game.
Yeah, there's enough flashback stuff too. Does it count as being cast from the graveyard if you just front?
Oh, no, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Okay, because some of those got that benefit.
If you were, well, this doesn't has overload, not flashback. Yeah, no, because it exiles it and then you cast it.
Okay, so no.
So if you cast like the Retrieve the Esper, you wouldn't get a 5/5.
Okay. What did you want to give it grade-wise?
Build around B. You clearly can't put this card in your deck unless you're working for it, but it is really good if you are.
Next is Cloud Strife, which is Najila the Blade Blossom. This feels like a thing. 2 and a red for a 3/2 legendary human warrior. Whenever a warrior attacks, you may have its controller create a 1/1 white warrior creature token that's tapped and attacking. And you can pay Wooburg, so 1 color of each mana, to untap all attacking creatures. They gain trample, lifelink, and haste until end of turn. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase. Activate only during combat.
Yeah, I think as a 3 mana 3/2 that makes creatures, it's pretty reasonable. I don't think that the activated ability is like one you really want to go out of your way to work for. It's not nothing. There are 5 color decks, but it doesn't actually pump them. Like it makes them lifelink and trample, but they're still 1/1s and 2/2s or whatever they would normally be. So it's not like you just win if you activate this. I would just save this for like red white or some similarly aggressive red deck where it's like a B.
Okay. Yeah, B. What
it
is
also
this?
works with other warriors. Like if you have
card,
other warriors and you go like turn 2 warrior, turn 3 this, attack, make a token, etc. Like if they don't kill the creature token, next turn you're getting a token for that token. So it does snowball really quickly.
Yeah, that is pretty threatening. Next is Zidane Tribal, which is Ragavan Nimble Pilfer. So this is red for a 2/1 legendary monkey pirate. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and exile the top card of that player's library until end of turn. You may cast that card, and it does have dash. You can pay 1 and a red to put it into play, give it haste, and then bounce it back to your hand on the end step. I mean,
Ragavan's a great card. Like, don't be completely fooled. Like, because of how good it is and constructed and limited, if you draw this in the middle of the game, it's not going to really be that impressive.
Right.
But that's counterbalanced by the whatever percent of times when you go turn on Mountain Ragavan and it just ends the game.
And
like they don't have a 1-drop.
It might be the scariest 1-drop you could play in the set.
Yeah, it's super snowball. So I think it's an A because of that.
Because I do too.
A card, it's just like a card that if it's in your opening hand, you win like, 75% of the time. It's just an incredible card still. Like even if it's like, yeah, sure, it's not that good later.
Yeah, and maybe it could pick up equipment and still threaten to get in later too.
Or like you just trade off a bunch, the board's clear, and you're like, all right, dash Ragavan.
Right. Get a card, get a treasure. Yeah. I like A for Zidane Tribal. Next is Falsey Paradise. This is green. It's Carpet of Flowers. So it's green for an enchantment. At the beginning of each...
It's Carpet of Flowers, he says, for the 7% of listeners.
Sorry, that's bad. That was bad. I'm old. At the beginning of each of your main phases, if you haven't added mana with this ability this turn, you may add X mana of any one color where X is the number of islands target opponent controls. That's funny.
I think they would side this in if they had a lot of islands, if they were a blue deck. Like, it's a 1-mana card that if it adds 1 mana, you're like pretty happy. And if it adds 2 or 3 mana, it's just a very powerful card.
That's kind of funny. It is. So
it's kind of like a sideboard A
against heavy blue. It's like a very narrow sideboard, but
it is
really good if you do.
If they have too many towns providing blue, you could end up in a kind of awkward spot. But
good point.
Imagine they go turn 1 island and you go turn 1 Carpet of Flowers. Then you could even play 1-drop. It adds mana right away. Like,
that's crazy. That's really funny. Yeah. But keep in mind, we're talking about a very narrow use case. Like if you never touch this card, you'd be much better off than if you tried to find the use case. But if you do, it actually is kind of sweet.
Just they're playing blue. I would just side it in as long as they had
Islands, yeah.
If they have 2 islands in play, this card is awesome. If they
Yes.
have only 1, it's at least reasonable if it's early. Like
Yes.
Utopia Sprawl is a great card.
Yes.
So
if my opponent's playing islands, like especially if they're trying to dip into some of the heavy blue cards we already covered, I'm carpeting. Next is Newfound Adventure, which is Farseek. So 1 and a green sorcery, search your library for a not forest basic land and put it onto the battlefield tapped and then shuffle.
this is great. This is a B.
Awesome.
It's just good ramp for the ramp decks.
Yeah, the ramp decks want it, and the other ramp cards in the set do let you get towns, but they're 3. This is 2. That's much better. Next is Vane Carudus Solidor, which is Finn the Fangbearer. So this is 1 and a green for a 1/3 Death Touch. It's a legendary human warrior. And whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. And going back old school, if a player has 10 poison counters, they lose the game. That is technically an alternate win condition that won't come up too often, but maybe every once in a while. But you do get a 1/3 Death Touch for 2.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Which is fine.
I mean, Finn played just great when it was in Kaldheim, and there was no poison theme there either. So
yeah, and there are Death Touchers. There's the 1 mana 1/1 that you could play and then this follow up and hit them.
Yeah, I would give Vane a B. Like you just put this card. It's good. It's good defensively. 1/3 Death Touch is like really annoying to attack into, and it's surprisingly good offensively. If you end up casting this, the first time you attack, they're like, okay, sure, take it, whatever, I don't care. But then like you attack 2 more times, and also they're at 6 poison. Then they have to like start thinking, oh man, I need to actually watch out. And I think it adds up nicely.
Next is Search for the Frozen Esper, which is Nature's Claim. So this is green for an instant destroy target artifact or enchantment its controller gains 4 life. Sideboard?
No, I think this is a main deck card. I mean, there's so many enchantments. Like, I think this card's just a B. It's a really efficient card.
Oh, there's both. Yeah. You said enchantments. Did you mean artifacts or did you mean enchantments?
There's more enchantments than artifacts.
Oh, okay. The
because of all the saga creatures. There's a lot of both.
Yeah, there's a lot of both. So main deck?
Yeah, I would always main deck this card.
Guess I'd give it a C.
I kind of think it's a B. It's 1 mana.
It's 1 mana, but you need to find a target. Like, it's not killing creatures.
If they're a saga creature, it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Some of the saga creatures, I don't even know if I would use removal on. You know, you just sort of endure them. Some of them I would.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Next is Astral Titan, which is, oh my God, Primeval Titans in this set? I did not know that. 4 green for a 6/6 trampling giant, and whenever it enters or attacks, you can search your library for up to 2 land cards, put them on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. Holy God. Astral Titan. Prime time in the Towns deck? Get out of here. The Landfall deck? That is absurd. I would give it an A.
Yeah, Primetime is great.
Amazing card. Next is Sephiroth the Savior. Who did they pick for this? Oh, Atraxa Grand Unifier. Nice. 3 green, white, blue, black. So 3 and then 1 color of each mana except for red for a 7/7 legendary Phyrexian Angel with flying, vigilance, death touch, and lifelink. And when it enters, reveal the top 10 cards of your library. For each card type, you may put a card of that type into your from among the revealed cards into your hand, and the rest go on the bottom in a random order. Well, I mean, this is an A+ if you can cast.
I would give Atraxa an A+. It's basically the best thing you can ramp into.
It is the best thing. It's one of the best things you could ever ramp into in this game.
It's a 7/7 flying lifelink vigilance that also just draws you like 4 or 5 cards, out of the top 10 or whatever. So
dare you forget Death Touch that's never actually been relevant on that card.
It's not. I've had it be relevant because of Cube. I think I've interacted with Atraxa like so much over the past year.
You
or
probably
2 years,
have, but Death Touch on a 7/7 is not normally needed. But anyway, A+ for this card if you can cast it. That's the bottom line. You need to build your deck to cast it, but it's the ultimate payoff. And I'm glad that they gave Sephiroth such a powerful card as the
it's fitting version. It's awesome. If I open Sephiroth here, I would just take it and draft Town Ramp.
Damn right, I would too.
Best payoff in the format for that.
Hugo Kupka,
and it looks really cool. Like it
does.
So some of these cards I've made it very clear I think look like crap because they do, but this one looks really cool.
This one looks really cool. That is amazing. Next one is Hugo Kupka. This is Oh, Bruce Tarl, Boorish Herder. This is 2 red, white for a 3/3 legendary human ally. Whenever it enters or attacks, target creature you control gains double strike and lifelink until end of turn. Technically, it has partner also. That's amazing.
I thought it was weird that they had incredible. 2 creatures that gave your creatures double strike, but there's actually 4 mana creatures with 3 power
that do it right away. Also, that is crazy. Wow, you're never going to be safe in this format. They're all gold though, so at least you got that going for it. But this is the best one, right? I mean, this is the red-white version.
Yeah, this one's really because double strike and lifelink is just
absurd.
You just stabilize so quickly with that.
I would give this an A.
Yeah, I like A for Bruce Charles.
That's so powerful to curve into Bruce. Next is Shadowbringers, which is Dovin's Veto. So this is white, blue for an instant. This spell can't be countered. Counter target, non-creature spell.
Because of the equipment in the set, kind of making it so people's ratio of creatures to non-creatures is more slanted toward non-creatures, I think I would just main deck this card. I'm not sure yet. You know, I'm not like 100% sure, but I suspect main decking Dovin's Veto Shadowbringers here is probably good.
Yeah, it's probably right across the line. I would give it a C.
In sealed, my guess is you always main deck it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But I like C for it. It's not like an amazing card.
Right. Kuja, Mage Manufacturer, is in Inala Archmage Ritualist. This is 2 and Grixis, so blue, black, red for a 4/5 legendary human wizard with Eminence. Whenever another non-token wizard you control enters, oh, that's sad. If Kuja is in the command zone or on the battlefield, you may pay 1. If you do create a token that's a copy of that wizard, that token gains haste, exile at the beginning of the next end step, and you can tap 5 untapped wizards you control to have target player lose 7 life. So there's the catch there.
Yeah, my issue with this is Grixis for a 4/5 that then you need to have wizards come in.
I mean, ideally you're just playing the red black wizard stack.
Yeah.
And then I play this and snap off 7 damage right away. I'd do it. I'd give it a build around, but I'd give it a build around B.
Build around B?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm in. Hook that up. Next is Benedicta Harmon, which is Ishai Ojutai Dragon Speaker. So this is 2 blue-white for a 1/1 legendary bird monk with flying. But it says whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Benedicta Harmon. No, thank you.
Yeah, the problem with this is like horrible top deck, not good against bounce, and
extremely vulnerable.
Yeah, it just spends too long being small. Yeah. There are some games clearly where it's be good, but I think this is a D.
Yeah, it's a 4-drop. Like, it's already too late. So D for Benedicta. Next is Lightning Lone Commando, which is Ishin 2 Heavens as 1. This is red, white, black for a 3/4 legendary human samurai. And it says, if a creature attacking causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time.
Yeah, I think this is an F. There's just not that many attack triggers, I don't think, and it's so hard to cast. It's just too many like situational things rolled up into one. It's kind of the reason that in Neon Genesis this just wasn't a very good card either.
In Neon Dynasty, yeah.
Neon Dynasty, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is just an avoid. Like D-. I mean, it's a magic card, but like barely.
F. Just run it.
Next is Seymour Guado, which is Kinnan Bonder Prodigy. Oh, sweet. This is green-blue for a 2/2 legendary human druid that says whenever you tap a non-land permanent for mana, add 1 mana of any type that permanent produced. And you can pay 5 green-blue to look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a non-human creature card from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest go on the bottom of your library in a random order. Little tricky with this one, right? Like this is kind of a lands-based ramp archetype, this blue-green deck.
I think it's that tricky. I just look at it as a 2-mana 2/2 that has a good 7-mana ability, which is a fine card.
It's just
I don't mind that so much.
I guess I would worry a little bit that I have seen so many humans that like
Yeah,
That might
you have to make sure your
actually
deck has
be a little bit of a thing. Yeah.
You kind of got to make sure your deck has the correct ratio of cards, but I just think overall it's like a pretty nice package. Like a 2-mana 2/2, and then it becomes pretty threatening. Your opponent's probably going to want to kill it. Seems reasonable to me.
C+ for Seymour Guado.
Yeah, I like that.
Next is Barnabas Tharmer, which is Crown Ludovic's
yes,
Opus.
Barnabas Tharmer, of course.
Oh, yes, of course. I've been waiting for this. 3 blue-red for a 4/4 legendary zombie horror. It has flying and haste, and it says, whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card.
So it's a little bit like Mangara in that sense, but I like it. A 5-mana 4/4 flying haste hits pretty hard, and then it stops them from double spelling, which is pretty relevant. I would give this a B.
Okay, B seems right for this.
It hits hard enough. Like, you get that 4 damage in a lot of the time.
It's really annoying, by the way, when I don't know what Barnabas Tharmer is, and I also don't know what Crown Ludovic's Opus is.
Yes, the commander cards will do that.
Just kidding me. Next is Orphan Cocoon Felsi, which is Muldrotha the Gravetide. I know what that is. So this is 3 black, green, blue for a 6/6 legendary elemental avatar that says, during each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a permanent spell of each permanent type from your graveyard. This is a good way to take over a game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's funny. There's like, between Atraxa, this, and Sin, the 7-mana 7s, and there's a lot of like big Sultai finishers, but yeah, I'm in for it. I would give Muldrotha, probably give it like an A-,
A-,
B+. Yeah.
This card does completely take over, but it does take a couple of turns to do it. Next is Titus Xanarkand Faith. This is Thrasios Triton Hero. So this is blue-green for a 1/3 legendary merfolk wizard with the ability pay 4, scry 1, then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it on the battlefield tapped. Otherwise, draw a card.
It's incredible. It's a 2-mana 1/3. Not only, it's not just pay 4, draw a card. It's pay 4, and if it's a land, you just get to put it into play.
You Coiling Oracle at the top of your library. That is great.
This is
I love that.
What like that blue-green card from
Commander?
Hour of Revelation. That you really like the bird.
The bird. Yeah. Oh, I love that card. What was the card? Thruple?
Hoopu or something.
Hoopu. The Hoopu. I love that guy. This seems great. And it's interesting that it's 4 generic mana too. Like, there's no color requirement, even though I know you're going to be able to pay that. I like B+ for Titus. Great mana sink.
I would give it an A-. Like,
okay.
It's only 4 mana to draw a card, and you get selection, you get everything.
4 is a lot. To be fair,
it's a 2-mana play because it also ramps you some of the time. So that does mean you are getting somewhere on board. It
is true, and at some point it becomes kind of free to do. I will be first picking Titus a lot. Next, whenever I see it. Next is Clive Rossfield. Haven't seen Clive in years. This is Vile Smasher the Fierce. This is 1 black-red for a 2/3 legendary Goblin Berserker. Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, choose an opponent at random, and Clive deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to that player or a planeswalker that player controls. Wow, that's good.
Yeah, it's a threatening card for sure.
Very threatening. You just cast spells? Like, that's your job?
Yeah, if you cast a spell, you just nug them. And so I would give Clive probably a B+. Like, you're
I think
still,
so.
You still have to have spells to follow it up. It's not like the best in combat, but if your opponent has this in play, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to take 4 or 5 damage a turn until they run out of spells.
Right. They don't even have to attack you anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like Clive Rossfield a lot. That's scary. Yuffie Kisaragi is next. This is Yukiro the Tiger's Shadow. This is like
this one in Legacy.
Okay. 1 blue-black for a 1/3 legendary human ninja with Commander Ninjutsu of blue-black. What does that mean?
Yeah, of course. It means that you can ninja it off of out of the command zone.
Oh my God. Whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's mana value. Yeah. So it's a 3 mana 1/3 if you just cast it. So can you just regular ninjutsu this?
I think yeah, you can. I played this card in Legacy.
Okay.
It just you can ninja out of either zone.
Okay, so it's just a alternate ninjutsu.
This is basically like kind of like a Ninja of the Deep Hours that makes them lose life. This is a fine card.
Yeah, I like the ninjutsu part a lot. I don't like the 3 mana 1/3 that I have to now try to get through for damage. Like that sounds hard.
Yeah. It's
I would
probably
go
like
C+ on it. Yeah. Kind of interesting. Next is Crystal of Ultra Cave, which is Chromatic Lantern. This is 3 mana for an artifact that taps for 1 mana of any color and lets your lands tap for mana of any color. Good mana rock.
This is Chromatic Lantern. I think you would play this in the Towns deck, especially if you're trying to cast things like Joda or Troxa or whatever.
I think so too. It don't go crazy. It's a C, but this is a mana rock.
It's still a 3 mana rock.
Right.
A 3 mana mana rock that taps for any color fulfills your color requirements almost entirely by itself. You don't need that your lands also do it.
Right.
But, it's not bad
Not bad to have that. Next is the Strawl, which is Smuggler's Copter. Oh, actual Smuggler's Copter. Yeah. 2 mana for a 3/3 vehicle with flying and crew 1. Of course, it's an artifact. And whenever this vehicle attacks or blocks, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card.
Fantastic card. I would probably give this an A.
I would too. It's one of the best things they've ever made.
Your opponent casts this card on turn 2 and you're just like, oh my God, they're going to make their draws better and draw, kind of loot every single turn.
Totally.
That's really something. There's a reason this card was banned in Standard.
Luca Stadium is next. Is this in LA or the
Strixhaven one?
Yeah, or is it in Dallas? That's the question. Strixhaven Stadium. It is 3 mana for an artifact. It taps for colorless, and you put a point counter on this artifact. Oh my God, I have to read this. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, remove a point counter from it. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, put a point counter on it. Then if it has 10 or more point counters on it, remove them, and that player loses the game.
So it's an F.
That never happens. Yeah. This is terrible. Last card is Balam Garden, which is Command Beacon. It's a land that taps for colorless, or you can tap it and sacrifice it to put your commander into your hand from the command zone. Are you kidding me?
It's an F.
That's how we finish this?
I know.
This set's cool, man. I know it's got a lot going on.
I've been having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, and I don't really know the lore and stuff, so I'm kind of missing on that part. But just it's been interesting so far. There's a lot. No, have you not noticed that? I got a lot going on. So I'm kind of excited because, like I said, it goes both ways. The fact that I'm not really excited about the lore also means that I don't really care. Like if it's not there,
judge it on its merits.
It's going to have to just be a good limited set, and that's how I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I mean it's early. I think that the overlap between the themes is a little bit less than I would have liked in terms of the cards being a little bit more narrow, but then we have time to explore that. And the themes have been fun. The cards have been playing nicely. They have a lot of text, but they have a lot of text to read. Once you read Job Select, you don't need to reread it. You kind of know what it does.
Yeah.
So, and the games have been playing well. That's the most important part. So far, we're a couple days in. Obviously, there's in no way, shape, or form do you have a complete picture, but I'm optimistic. The set's been fun so far. I expect it to continue being fun. And it's a cool set.
Same thing. We're going to have our format overview next week, and we'll give you our real impressions after having got a bunch of drafts in with it as well. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. If you want to find us on social media, Marshall_LR and Luis is LSV, pretty much everywhere. You can find everything related to the podcast over at lrcast.com. We want to thank everybody who supports us on Patreon, as well as Ultimate Guard for their support of the show. That is going to do it for this one. We'll see you next week.
So in the vein of talking about RPGs and watching them, because I like to watch more than play them myself, there's a game called Sea of Stars, which is a really cool RPG that actually our daughter, who's about to turn 9, has played through now multiple times. She played through it, then played through it to get the true ending, and now is going to play the DLC. And it's been a lot of fun. I've watched it. Hasn't made me want to go out and play it, but if you're looking for an RPG, it's kind of like a love letter to a lot of classic RPGs, like like Chrono Trigger or what have you, and it is really well done. I really like games like that where someone who's an obvious fan of the genre remakes without necessarily trying to like break tons of new ground, because I wouldn't describe it as such, but just trying to do a really high quality version of using best practices and make a really cool game. And like Sea of Stars really does that. I think it's a really cool game. It's funny, I'm recommending it despite never having played it myself, but I've watched a ton of it at this point. So I feel pretty confident that if you like RPGs, it's a good selection, and
Cool.
it's been fun watching her play through it.